We rocking? We jamming?
What are you talking about?
Are we rolling?
Yes.
Swiftly down a hill into an open canyon filled with fire.
Whoa.
Is this a metaphor? Are we going to learn about ourselves, or are we in trouble?
We're all heading down a slope into the abyss.
Just row your boating, huh?
Jesus Christ,
rowing
dude.
down a boat, down a hill.
All right, well, welcome to the G Club. At least we didn't start it with Japanese.
Did you do that last time?
I do that every time that I do one with Barry. I don't know whatever that is.
I said you are all my good friends.
Is that Mandarin?
Yes.
Wow.
Cantonize?
No.
Can you say more?
Un poco.
What?
Is that one something? Is that Spanish?
That's a little in Spanish.
Yeah, I was saying Spanish.
I lost most of my Chinese.
Okay.
Yeah.
So welcome to the G Club. Of course, as always, Barry is here.
Hello. I'm always here.
I'm Aaron. We got Susie from Kitty Cat Gaming.
Hey there.
And we have Jory. Jory Griffiths. That's your last name, right? Griffiths?
Yeah.
Professional dad.
He was
professional dad without children.
Dadman.
Yeah.
He was
Dadman.
You're a dadman.
Yeah.
a major programmer for Dream Daddy, a dad dating simulator.
Was that your title? Major programmer? And there was like a kernel
Commodore program.
What was the exact title from the game that I gave you?
I ended up as narrative designer.
Narrative designer.
Is that what you did?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it is what I did, and then some. But I still... there was a major part of the development where I was going to be boy developer.
Whoa.
I co-signed that, but in the end it was like, not only do I think that sells me incredibly short, but also I guess if I want to put this on a resume, I guess boy developer.
What does that mean?
Makes it sound like I was getting people waters.
Yeah.
I wasn't even trusted with the coffee machine.
Boy developer.
But the game we're talking about is Dream Daddy, a dad dating simulator, now available on Steam for $14.99
Yes.
US dollars.
Yeah, keep it going.
Check it out.
Please check it out. Produced by GameGrumps.
Woo.
If you like GameGrumps.
We got playthroughs of it.
Featuring...
If you gotta check it out before you buy it.
Yeah, check it out on Kitty Cat Gaming if you want to check it out.
But we're going to talk about a different game. Slightly similar to Dream Daddy in some ways.
It's incredibly similar.
Actually, it might as well be in the same universe.
In fact, I wish MGS had mechanics similar to those of Dream Daddy.
The Dadniverse.
Yeah, we're talking about
oh my
Metal
God.
Gear.
Metal Gear.
Metal Gear.
If Snake was in the dad dating simulator, though,
Could you make Snake as your Dadvatar?
There's no eye patches or anything.
Yeah, there's nothing even close to an eye patch.
Can you make one of his eyes a different color? Or are they always the same color?
Nah, no heterochromia.
I'm just poking holes in your Dadvatar creation.
I feel awful about that.
Yeah.
I think that's ableist, Jory. I think you should add in an eye patch. 2 eye patches.
Double patch.
Yeah.
Also, throwing this out there, if you haven't played any of the Metal Gear games, maybe you might not.
Yeah, we're going to be
listen
talking
this.
the whole heck out of that whole series.
Yeah, we're going to talk about spoiler
But
galore.
to be fair, if you haven't played them all, then none of this will make sense. So go ahead and listen away and just be confused.
And it's been years, right?
I think especially we're talking about a series that has like canonically ended like 4 times.
Yeah.
So like
I think MGS 2 was the first time Kojima said he was done making Metal Gear.
He said around like MGS 3, I think he said he regretted making MGS 1 and that Metal Gear 2 should have been the ending.
Metal Gear 2.
Yeah, for the MSX.
Okay.
I don't need.
I mean, I
Wow.
don't think anyone claims to understand Kojima's mind, so that's fine.
He is a very complicated man. But
have any of you guys played
genius.
the 2D ones?
I've played both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played a little bit of the MSX one, the first one, and I played the NES one many times.
Oh yeah, I played the NES.
The
one
NES
as well.
Metal Gear. Not the Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake or whatever.
No.
The non-canon.
Surprisingly, the MSX one is actually like almost like sort of a play-by-play of like, well, I would guess the PlayStation one is like almost a play-by-play of the MSX one. It's like a remake almost.
It really is.
Just by the way it flows. Yeah, I mean it's a different story. It's a prequel or whatever.
But like the story beats of you meet up with Gray Fox.
Well, more of the gameplay beats. Like you blow up a wall with C4 and like you have to save some guy who's in a
you get thrown in prison.
Yeah.
Right? You get thrown in a cell.
So it has the same sort of beats.
So Kojima had one idea. And he's just been riffing off that ever since.
And there's a cyborg ninja too. I mean,
A guy who was a former ally comes back as a cyborg ninja and is now your enemy in Metal Gear 2. just like in MGS One.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I mean, if you consider like all of the shit that people have said about Konami and what they put the team through during development, maybe it's just him not wanting to make another game, so he's just punching in the same shit over and over again, hoping that people will stop buying it and it'll fade away.
Get the sense,
rolling that boulder up that hill.
Yeah.
I get the sense that like Kojima's team's relationship with Konami deteriorated. I don't think it started terrible. I think it started out. I mean,
The fact that he was publicly saying, though, that, like, you know, Metal Gear 2 should have been the last one and all of that, like, I think that's him probably having that deterioration happening.
I think he's one of the closest things we have to a video game auteur. Someone that's like a creator that's... I think it's mostly a film term, auteur. The idea being that like, you have a director of a movie that every aspect of the production they have had their hand in. This is their vision 100% through and through. It's not a collaboration between all these creative people. This is their idea. And video games are almost inherently collaborative. There are people that make games by themselves, and it's incredibly hard to do. But I think Kojima is someone that really knows what he wants his games to be and thinks them through in like playing 4D chess in his mind, etc.
That's interesting.
And so I think that when he thinks of the stories and the things he's trying to say, because that's a big part of the Metal Gear series is the messages that he's trying to get through.
Yeah.
I would say 5 is the best game of them all by far.
Yes.
They're not great games. There's really interesting ideas, and that's kind of what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
In terms of like the deterioration with Konami going way back, I remember reading about the NES version is like a bastardized port that he had nothing to do with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he actually, I think I read that he had to fight to like protect his vision for Metal Gear 1, like to make it like a essentially non-violent game, or at least relatively based by the current standards when that game came out. And he met somebody who was responsible for the port on a train. Like somebody on like a subway told him that he worked on the Famicom port that Kojima had not even known existed while it was being developed.
God.
And that was why he made Metal Gear 2, was he was like, I'll show them. I'm going to show them like the pure totality of my vision for a stealth game. And it branched out from there, and he ended up doing that for 20 years straight.
Right, I'll show you.
Yeah.
For 30 years.
So the entire Metal Gear franchise is based on vitriol. And
I mean, I think MGS2
Spite.
is vitriol pointed at the player.
I actually think that the Metal Gear series was just him trying out new and interesting game modes for when he inevitably opened up his own game studio.
what do you mean by that?
Just like all of the innovative gameplay aspects. Like, I feel like it was the first game where you had like active camo. I feel like it was very innovative on a lot of different gameplay aspects. And even just the Fox system that he made, which
The engine?
that I don't think he actually even has access to anymore.
Oh,
I think was
no,
all
yeah,
I think he
definitely
could
not.
license it if he wanted to shoot himself in both feet.
Yeah, but I feel like it was all practice for this moment, and I hope that Death Stranding actually happens.
What, do you think he
Well, it's
knew he was going to get fired eventually?
Oh, I think it was always a plan to be a lone wolf. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think anybody wants to work underneath somebody else for the rest of their lives. They want to be successful themselves, especially someone as creative and as driven as him. I think it was always his
So
idea.
do you think that's why he's always included, like, if not references to himself, just like it always says like a Hideo Kojima game, like in the opening credits?
Oh,
and
absolutely. He has been the number one product from the very beginning. Like, he's selling himself.
Even MGS
Metal Gear
1
just
has-
happened to be the condiment on which he was selling it on. Like, it's just...
Even MGS 1 with the Psycho Mantis fight, instead of saying video, it says Hideo,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think he wanted people to know, like, he made this game.
I mean, even in the most recent one, 5, he wanted people to know his face, even, because one of the characters has his
in
face.
Ground Zeroes.
Yeah.
Who's the character from Peace Walker, the like botanist? I forget her first name. Like super forgettable character. But her middle and last name are Cosima Caminades, which like I think in Romaji, like if you're like making it into katakana, it basically says Kojima is God.
Yeah, that's weird.
I think
He codes that stuff everywhere.
I mean-
one of the games, it might have been 2, the voice actor credits had him as the voice of God.
I mean, I think we can safely say that he's pretty full of himself, because even in his like new production studio, their mascot is the Ludin, you know, like the like spacesuit man, and it was supposed to be his face inside of the mask, but his studio said that it made them too uncomfortable.
I thought he said it made him uncomfortable.
That or the team, or maybe
What
both.
I read was that it was his face scan that they used, and it made him too weirded out to look into his own eyes.
No,
So
I heard
they
that it was
changed
the
it a
team.
little bit.
It weirded out the team because they were always being looked at by him. So
He
they had
was
to
staring
change
at all of his employees.
Yeah, so
really
now
like
it's like a
that.
skull inside of the mask.
No, it
right?
still has human eyes. He's wearing like a balaclava thing over his head, but there's like a human underneath it all.
But like he's selling figurines of that now,
Yeah,
and
it
like
seems a little overzealous. When
I
they
mean,
haven't
to be
poked
fair,
it
I
out.
did buy the T-shirt.
It's awesome
set
design. I
'cause,
love all
like,
the-
I want it
Yeah.
to come out, but
Yeah.
It's like a
It's-
designer toy.
I guarantee you Death Stranding will come out. It's just not going to happen for like another 2 or 3 years.
yeah.
yeah.
Who knows if he'll run out of money too?
I'm
Jeez.
confident he can secure investment.
If he did a Kickstarter, it would be funded immediately. Not that I think he would.
I think his games are way more expensive than a Kickstarter can
Yeah.
fund.
Yeah.
You think
He's
so?
not going to raise $50 million on a Kickstarter.
Yeah, I think the biggest game Kickstarter was what, like 3 million, 4 million?
Maybe something like that.
Yeah, he needs more than that. But I mean, I feel like
Well,
also
Star
he would
Citizen
break records.
Did a bunch of funding outside of, or crowdfunding outside of Kickstarter. And I think that's like at most like 8 million or something.
But can we talk about how innovative he was? I mean, like,
Well, yeah, I thought it was curious that you said that you felt that he was innovating as preparation for creating his own studio. I think it's much simpler than that. I think he just was curious and he was interested in innovation for its own sake. He was never satisfied from playing his games. So I played all of his games as they came out, starting with 3. And it always struck me that he didn't really care about what other people were doing in the same space that he was in.
Yeah.
He just wanted to explore different ideas, give players different ways of playing through these games. And he had things that he wanted to say while you were playing them.
I mean, I think that still goes along the same lines of a person who wants to be the lone wolf and kind of like carve out their own path kind of thing.
It could be.
I disagree with both of you. I think he's super reactionary, especially because like recently, it was like 2 years ago. It was when Metal Gear Solid 5 was in development. He was like super obsessed with Western games, and I remember he was like really obsessed with.
He's
one of the-
super obsessed with everything Western, by the way.
Yeah, like one of the Tom Clancy games, the one where you like bust into the house.
Siege? Rainbow Six?
Yeah, that one. He was like
multiplayer
He was like really into that
Oh.
game, and he was like, I want to do a lot of that stuff with Metal Gear Solid 5, and
That's
like
interesting.
so you can feel like a real Western feel with 5.
Yeah. And,
And of course he's like super unique in the way he does things, but I do think like in the moment when he's making the game, it's very like, what do I want to do right now because of like what everyone else is doing.
So you think he's hyper aware of what everyone else is doing and he tries to make something that stands out from that?
Maybe.
I mean, I know he's super obsessed with at least Western film culture.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know that he played a lot of Western games.
Yeah.
But I know he's obsessed with. I mean, his games increasingly became Tarantino-esque, you know, even just from the soundtrack choices.
Yeah, right.
Especially in Phantom Pain.
But even with 4, like 4 played a lot more traditionally, you know. Like
Yeah, it did.
3
Yeah.
was like a super Metal Gear game.
Yes.
And then 4 just felt like a third-person shooter, where you happen to sneak around. It felt a lot more like
2 levels.
Yeah,
yeah.
It felt a lot more like the fuck was it? Jesus, what the hell was the Splinter Cell?
admittedly, those games are pretty hard to differentiate, the Tom Clancy series.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do think that's actually a really interesting point because, yeah, I remember reading about how he was like really obsessed with like Western development processes, and I think that's what ended up funneling into his like world tour where he was trying to figure out what engine and what tools he wanted to use in his new company.
I mean, even Metal Gear Online was developed in America.
Oh yeah,
Well, there was Kojima Productions Los Angeles, I think.
yeah,
yeah, it's like in Burbank or well, it was in Burbank.
No,
R.I.P.
it was in Marina Del Rey. It was right next to the YouTube space.
Oh really?
I think he might be burned out on the Japanese way of doing things after the whole Konami blowout.
Oh, for sure.
Like, I think he's just burned out on that entire...
Yeah,
I'm
particularly
excited 'cause-
Konami, man.
So I'm not convinced that he many times was like, I'm done with Metal Gear because of Konami necessarily, because he always said he had other ideas and other games he wanted to make,
He did.
and he did make a lot of those games.
Made Boktai.
He made Boktai and Zone of the Unders. But
yeah.
earlier in his career, he made like Snatcher and all kinds of weird
Searing.
shit. And as a Metal Gear fan, it's like, well, as much as I love Metal Gear, I want the creator of that series to be happy. I want him to pursue his own interests and not find an idea and then figure out how to rope it into Metal Gear.
Yeah.
I want him to just explore his crazy imagination because, you know, and it's not just him. Like, I think it's important to say, like Yoji Shinkawa, his concept artist, is fucking phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
One of the best concept artists I've ever seen. Even, like, so the first Metal Gear game I played was MGS 2. Because I didn't have a PlayStation growing up, and also I was pretty young. I don't think I would have understood 99% of what was happening in MGS 1.
Yeah.
Even as an adult, I only understand about 20% of what's in there. So as kids, my brother and I weren't allowed to have M-rated games in our house. Our parents wouldn't let us play violent games. And my brother borrowed MGS 2 from a friend of his, and we hid it behind the CRT TV in the living room.
God.
And when our parents weren't home, we would pull it out and play
You
for
were
a little
your
bit.
own big boss.
So it's like we were sneaking around in real life, sneaking around in the game.
That's adorable.
But I remember just like not being able to play it and just looking at this striking, because the box art for MGS2 is one of the best fucking box arts ever. It's just a drawing of Snake
With the gun.
Yeah.
with this clashing color palette behind it.
Yeah.
And it was just so like the giant black M-rated M for mature. I was like, oh my god, this game, what is this thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get the Xbox version?
No.
Where you could skate on Big
Oh,
Shell with
Substance.
Raiden?
No,
I read about it and I was like, what?
I'm not saying this to be pedantic. I'm saying it because it's like a personal tragedy. In substance.
Subsistence.
Yeah, 3 was
Wait.
Subsistence.
Yes.
Oh, gotcha.
2 was Substance.
Substance for PS2.
Kojima loves that shit.
Substance for PS2 had the skateboarding game. The Xbox version didn't.
Wait, I thought
And-
the Xbox version was the only one that had the...
Nope, the Xbox one didn't, and it killed me because I had an Xbox and not a PS2, and like it was the worst not getting to play the big shell skateboarding.
Do you remember
wow.
transfarring?
I don't...
What
What
is
the
that?
fuck
I
is
don't-
that?
I don't think anyone ever actually did it.
No, it was like the ability to transfer your saves from the PS, or was Peace Walker on the Vita, or was it PSP?
It was PSP.
It's the PSP.
So you could like transfer your saves from the PSP to the PS3 version of the game or something, and instead of calling it transferring your data or whatever, he called it transfarring. And there was this whole thing they made with Mega 64 where they were like sneaking around, and he called it transfarring because
Yeah.
I don't know, why not?
And then
But this is the whole subsistence gene meme scene.
Oh, God.
What,
and like 5 or 6 years later or whatever, when the HD remasters happened, they like wheeled out transfarring again for the Vita version and the
dusted it off.
PS3 version.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you could just give that a normal name, but this works too.
Of course
love it.
not. Of course not.
Gotta
Kojima
be a
has to do his own
portmanteau.
thing. You know, like that's just like, that's him.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, but so I was talking about MGS2 that like at the time, yeah, there were a ton of plot threads that game left you with, but he was like, yeah, I don't want to make Metal Gear anymore. And consistently what allegedly happened was they would start working on the next Metal Gear game and he would just be like sitting next to it, working on his own thing and be like, they're doing it wrong. Like, they're not doing the crazy shit that I want them to do. And he would just get roped back in as director. Or there'd be young staffers leading the game and they'd be like, Kojima, like, what about this? What about that? They'd be like, asking him about every single thing, and they'd be like, please just come back as director. And he'd be like, oh, okay. So he sort of kept getting roped into it. I don't believe, at least from anything that's publicly known, that Konami was like pressuring him to keep making Metal Gear. I mean, I'm sure they wanted Metal Gear to happen with or without him, and he was like, well, it can't happen without me. But I think he just always wanted to make his own stuff that went to different spaces, and that's
I think even if
why
he
I'm excited
tried
for Death
to-
Stranding. It's him being free for the first time in a very long time.
I think if he even tried to start to make a new game, that Konami would have shut him down and been like, "You're here for
Really?
nothing," and it's just Metal Gear. Yeah, because like Konami has already shown their true colors that they're just there for money. Like, look at what they're doing right now. They're not.
Oh no! The stuff that I've read about Konami is terrifying, and the
They're terribly
development
wrong.
of Phantom Pain is very distressing.
yeah.
I don't know if that was always how it was. 'Cause-
I think it was definitely its worse at the end of 5 because they were out of money and they were mad at him because it seemed like he was dragging it out as long as possible.
yeah, and they
making
were
it as
already like,
expensive
we're
as
just going to make
possible.
pachinko games, and
Yeah.
why is this costing so much?
And so I think it just their treatment got worse at the end because of that. It was
Yeah.
fucking.
I'm talking
insane.
about like 10, 15 years before that even.
Yeah, but I don't think they would have let him make anything else. except
Really?
for Metal Gear games, because it was so successful for them. It was
Well, he made,
like their best-selling
he
game.
made Boktai, and he made some Zone of the Ender stuff.
Who knows Boktai? Really?
There's
got
a
a
sweet
sequel.
Boktai reference in 4.
Come on.
It got a sequel and a crossover with Mega Man Battle Network.
made
and
custom hardware
Everyone
for
knows
that.
Metal
And
Gear.
this-
Metal Gear, like fucking the characters are even in Monster Hunter. Like it's crossed over into everything.
Well,
like,
Boktai
it's-
crossed over with Battle Network. That was a huge hit for Capcom.
That is
Battle Network 3 and 4 were big hits.
Yeah, I don't know.
I actually do remember that being part of the conversation where, and again, I think so much of the thing in Phantom Pain was based on hearsay, where I don't think anyone ever came out with like a canon explanation for what had happened. But I think the people at Konami actually did have concerns about how like Western oriented the Metal Gear series had become, and I think MGS 5, everything he was doing to make it open world and systems driven, kind of tipped the scales.
They didn't like that it was more Western focused.
Yeah, like I think that they
That's
were.
a big part of why that series was successful.
and
was
MGS
that
5
he
ended up
clearly was emulating parts of Western culture in MGS 1 especially.
Yeah, I mean that's what I heard, but people have heard all kinds of things about that. So
Yeah.
Well, I thought the stuff about like
think
their
it-
emails were randomly changed, and they were shamed publicly within the company if they had long lunch breaks. I thought all that was like corroborated by multiple sources.
Yeah, it was just all the horrible. I just thought it was just because it was getting too expensive.
Yeah.
'Cause it just seemed like the production was going on forever, and they didn't finish it. So my assumption is that like they just weren't done, and like they went way over budget, and they were just like, just release it. Mm-hmm. And Kojima was like, we can't release an unfinished game, and they were like, just do it.
just call it
I
finished.
think they
Yeah.
released Ground Zero separately as just give us a little more time,
Yeah.
and it wasn't enough.
And that bought everybody a bunch of bad will for this fucking whole game too. Like Ground Zeroes being like a paid demo or whatever you want.
I mean,
to
I
call it.
really enjoyed Ground Zeroes.
It was cool.
But I mean, I even played like all the extra missions and stuff, and played them several times through. But
Yeah, me too.
I mean, yeah, I felt like I was just buying a demo, but I was 100% on board for that.
It was a cool demo. I mean, it was like a fully fledged, well thought out demo in itself. I mean, you can be direct. It is a demo, but I thought it was a great opener and introduction to Phantom Pain.
Yeah, it's like the tanker chapter in MGS2 compared to the plant.
Yeah.
Or yeah, it's just like here's like the introduction, sort of setting things up, and then here's the rest.
I guess Tanker is a huge fucking bummer, just like Ground Zeroes is.
Yeah, but I think Tanker's meant to bum you out. 'Cause the entire game is about like heroes, and I think almost the entirety of MGS2 is just not saying screw you to the player, but maybe screw you to the entitled players. Like, just let me play Snake and sneak around. When it's like that wasn't even really the point of MGS1. There was a lot of other stuff going on besides Snake being a badass and doing cool stuff.
Yeah.
But
I don't know though, man. Like Snake himself is one of my favorite things about the game. Like
I thought you liked Big Boss.
I
specifically.
like all of the snakes actually.
You like Solidus? Is he your favorite?
My favorite is Venom Snake. He's my favorite snake.
The one true Snake.
Yeah.
That's probably the least actually Snake.
Yeah, he's not the boss that we want, but he's the boss that we deserve.
So why do you like Venom
yeah.
so much?
Because even though he's not actually Snake, he took on the role anyways and did a really badass job with it.
He's us.
Yeah, like he's us. Like it's because he's actually like what I would want to be. You know, like because like
It's the life you chose.
It could be anybody, right? Like you could inject yourself in that position because if you haven't played the game yet. Basically, at the end of the game, it's kind of revealed that you were the medic on the helicopter that explodes, and
You're basically a random NPC in the earlier game.
yeah. So to protect Big Boss, they gave you plastic surgery to look like him, and told you
fuck ton of
basically,
steroids.
yeah, they basically told you, you know, like you're him. Here's your job. Get to
Well,
work.
they kind of brainwashed him too. He didn't
Yeah.
know that
He was in a coma. They put like cassette tapes on for him, and he was listening to those, and it was feeding him all of this information. So he was kind of caught up. But anyways, it just kind of gave you a little bit more of that extra feeling that like, oh shit, I could be Snake. And this could be my life. And he did it, and he loved it. I think in the end, when it shows him looking in the mirror. And it's
he
playing The Man Who
smirks.
Sold the World. He smiles,
Yeah.
and I think he's happy with what he's done.
I read a lot of speculation about that. I went on like a deep dive about this
Yeah.
whole thing because like when like Operation Intrude N313 or whatever
When he plays it
happens-
on his Famicom or his MSX.
on his
system.
MSX too.
I mean-
like he easily could have not gone on that mission. He knew Solid Snake was coming to kill him, and he did it anyway.
I mean, if you think about it, that kind of makes Big Boss into a coward. because instead of being a man and manning up and doing the mission himself, he went away and did his own thing.
The idea was that during Phantom Pain, he's off somewhere setting up Outer Heaven.
Supposedly, right? Like he's doing this whole thing, but why can't he just man up, and why does he have to be in two places at once? Like, why can't he...
To get the heat off of him.
He was setting up to... That whole plot element was like literally to clean up Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I have a more cynical take. Cause...
Of course, but I'm just saying, like, as a representative, like, he could have been that Snake. But instead, he picked someone else, and they took that role and went with it anyways. Even though it wasn't their life, they didn't choose that hard life, but they accepted it anyways. And that's what makes me like them as my favorite Snake.
And isn't that like similar to Raiden, where like the whole idea behind
Raiden
Raiden
like wanted to be Snake.
Well, yeah, so like that was the whole idea behind Raiden. Is like you sort of hate him because he like wants so badly to be Snake, but that like is a reflection of you as a player. Yeah. Because you're like, I want to be Snake. I hate this guy.
And then you get to see Raiden be a badass in 4, and you're an dying old man.
Yeah.
You can't do shit, and you're like, I want to be the cyborg ninja.
It's like, no, too bad. Didn't like him.
I like old Snake.
Platinum Games was like, here you go. Zandatsu the shit out of this.
It's about like the legend of the snakes and how we as players can revere them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, even by MGS
or
1.
Just the fact that revering them is already kind of misguided.
And that's it. That is something about the whole Venom Snake thing that I guess doesn't. I understand the premise that he's the player. He represents the player's will to be Big Boss, but like ultimately that's like. Isn't this kind of a condemnation of the player wanting to be like a militaristic figure? I guess it's a little complicated because like
Isn't that what art is?
Wow.
It's up to you to figure it out.
Art doesn't have to be complicated.
I mean, yeah, like I don't think the average player would look so deep into it. They'd just be like, oh yeah, it was a snake after all. The end. Like they don't look. I at least maybe I'm just glossing over it, but like I wouldn't have thought too much far into it if I wasn't so into the story and the lore. But
I mean, my great disappointment with Phantom Pain was that I thought. Because after 4 came out, I was like, all right, there's no more loose threads. Like, yeah, the fact that you kill Big Boss in Metal Gear 1 and then you kill him again in Metal Gear 2, whatever. That to me, that wasn't a plot hole that needed filling.
Yeah. Apparently it was the Kojima.
Apparently it was.
Well, it was the biggest plot hole.
Right.
And that's
needed a whole game.
That's kind of the thing too, is that like in MGS 4, they actually already had like an attempt to close that loop where like they explain like the Snatcher process, like tying the Snatcher mythology into the Metal Gear mythology to explain how Big Boss got his bionic limbs, and then they just kind of disregard that in MGS 5. It's complicated.
I don't really remember the Snatcher.
Hey, if we want to go into the whole like Venom Snake being what would you say? Not a clone, but a mash-in for Snake.
It's like a doppelganger.
Yes. Kaz and Ocelot both knew that he wasn't Snake and were cool with it.
Did Kaz know?
Oh, Kaz.
How would they be cool with that?
I thought Kaz didn't know.
Kaz finds out at the end, and there's a tape where Ocelot tells him, and he's pissed.
Yeah, because, okay, I didn't know that part, because I always assumed that they...
accepts it.
How could they accept that? Because from all we know... they would be very pissed that Snake would do that to them because they were building this whole alliance and this whole entire
Ocelot was like behind it all with
yeah. Ocelot's sort of like the instigator of the entire series.
Yeah.
Where it's like if you trace all the like motives back, it's like Ocelot's the one who wants.
Like 0 is where everything stems from, and Ocelot's the one who just does all the shit.
Yeah, I guess so.
And it ends with 0.
But like, yeah.
Some good lines in 4.
Yeah, I like it.
But Ocelot is the one who like carries it through all the way to the end. And he's like really believes in America being a good nation and shit.
Yeah. Ocelot's in love with Snake. That's the entire story.
Everyone's in love with Snake.
And
everyone.
Everyone was. I mean, even the fucking players in love with Snake.
I do think narratively that the idea is that Ocelot becomes like Venom's mentor, and then Kaz is pissed, so he goes off and becomes Solid's mentor, like so that he can destroy Big Boss.
Oh,
I think that's the idea.
But then at some point Ocelot goes and kills Kaz before he can finish mentoring him.
I think Liquid kills Kaz.
I thought they implied that it was Ocelot.
Yeah, Liquid kills Kaz.
It's Liquid?
Yeah, Liquid goes to his like house in the mountain.
Do we know that was Liquid?
They never say who it was.
Yeah, they might not say.
But at the end of 5, they imply that it's Ocelot. I don't remember how I remember it being implied, but there was like some kind of tape where,
I think
like
you're right.
at the end, they were giving credits and they were like,
It's like
Snake,
Ocelot tracks down Kaz in the Alaska wilderness or some shit.
yeah, and they were like Ocelot is like a timeline thing, and it was like Ocelot visits Kaz, and then the next one was like Kaz mysteriously dies, and then it just like goes on, like, and it tells you the years that it happens.
I always assumed it was Liquid that killed him, just because Liquid pretends to be him in one.
Yeah.
But you're right, it might be Ocelot.
I think it was
I
Ocelot.
feel like they flat out said it in one.
It's been so long.
Yeah.
I've never actually played the PS1 original. It's probably sacrilege to say.
Did you play
We
Twin
can-
Snakes?
I played Twin Snakes.
Oh,
We should-
man.
Never heard everybody's great accents.
Yeah.
We
Well,
should-
I've seen videos.
We
but
should look back and see what year that they said that Kaz was murdered in, and then
It
see
was like
how
right before
old.
Shadow Moses.
Well, then we should see how old Liquid would have been then, because
was-
weren't they babies? Like,
No, it was right before Shadow Moses happened.
Yeah, I got the impression that he was killed pretty recently before
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid 1.
It was like days before or some shit. It was like right before that whole shit went down.
If I remember correctly, I think all that's explicitly said in 1 is Campbell says that they found his body and he was already decomposing. I don't think they're very specific about what happened to him.
We found his buddy.
But what I was getting at earlier, so 5 to me is it's such a good game. It's like the best stealth game.
Oh man, I could play it for hours.
It
man.
is so fucking.
So
I
much
wish
fun.
they just put out new missions instead of like weird FOB stuff.
Yeah, they just put out like you can play as Ocelot in FOB missions now,
Yeah.
which like who
Like I don't.
what? Really?
that was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know they were still updating it.
No one did.
Evidently, yeah.
I want to play as
But
Ocelot.
I'm not saying
Can
who
you do
cares.
cool
I mean,
gun
I want them
stuff?
to finish the Africa
Is your idle
mission.
animation just
Yeah.
flipping guns?
Or what's with the island mission?
right. What happens with Saul?
Why don't they fucking finish that?
Okay, so yeah, you guys want to talk about the end 5 that they never made?
I don't even feel like that was the ending. I feel like that was the next
that
chapter.
was like chapter 3 out of
Yeah.
20 chapters.
I mean, to be honest though, that game, even without the proper ending, was entirely too long.
Well, they
I
put
feel
in
like-
a ton of padding where you're
Yeah.
replaying missions in
Yeah.
the second
Well, like
half.
I feel like they could have cut even Metal Gear Solid 5 into 2 parts.
Like the Afghanistan and the
Yeah,
Africa
and then
stuff.
if they wanted to, and then if they wanted to throw in all of the Africa stuff at the end with what's his face, Eli, that could have been a whole other game. But they were trying to cram too much into one game, and I think that's why they went over budget and everything. They were just stretching it and putting in more stuff, and like everything they're putting in
Yeah.
was like fucking rad.
I mean, because remember,
But-
originally Ground Zeroes was going to be part of the same game.
Yeah.
So they were very ambitious.
They were very
Yeah.
ambitious. Like personally, I like shorter games. I like games
Oh, me
that I
too.
can beat in like a week, Like I don't want to play the same game for a month straight and not make a dent in it.
The quickest way to get me to play a game is tell me I can beat it in 3 hours.
Yeah.
That is guaranteed play for me.
I do wonder about MGS 5 that maybe that's what Kojima was trying to do with like, and it just ends up coming across as obnoxious, but the way you see like closing credits after everything you do in
Yeah.
And opening credits that spoil what's happening in
It's
the
almost
mission
like
you haven't done.
It's almost like he wanted to be a director instead of like a game.
That's been a
That's
criticism.
100% true.
The impression that I get mechanically is that it's trying to make it episodic to make the player feel comfortable playing this game over a series of short sessions instead of just like spending 60 hours in 1 week.
I think it was
but it's so
definitely intended-
suspenseful. You
I
want to
think-
keep playing it. You want to find out what happens.
I think especially because it's this massive open world that every mission it just gives you a tiny little square. Like this is where you get to play.
Right.
Not that you ever hit the edges. There's no reason to go out there. The missions tend to be very linear and well designed in that regard. But my concern, because it's like the thing that's always drawn me to Metal Gear series, it was never really the gameplay as much as it was the worlds and the stories. Like usually I'm a gameplay first kind of guy, but with Metal Gear it was this weird blend of the two. It was the gameplay was serviceable. Sometimes it was really cool and compelling. And I think MGS 3 is probably my favorite Metal Gear because that one, before 5, that was the one that felt like the most technical, where it's like I am in the woods stalking my prey. Like it felt very, and you had so many tools and ways to do it, and they gave you a lot of fun little playgrounds. But when they said, okay, we're making MGS 5, and it was Phantom Pain was revealed to be MGS 5 and all that shit, all the fucking Moby Dick references, and who knows what. The immediate consensus, and if I remember correctly, it was sort of like, well, this has to be like the gap in between Peace Walker and MGS1, or like Metal Gear. And the big gap in that is like big boss's descent from protagonist to antagonist. And as trailers come out as trailers were coming out for Phantom Pain, that you saw him surrounded by dead bodies and vultures are picking them apart. He's got child soldiers and he's giving them guns, and you're like, holy shit, we're gonna see him become a bad guy, and you're gonna see it from his perspective, that it's all justified, and like that's gonna be a very interesting story. And then we didn't get any of that in Phantom Pain. Even shit that was in the trailers was never in the game at all.
Oh my God, I
or
can't
was
even
completely out of
imagine.
context. And as someone who'd been following the game for so long, was like, that was the big chunk in the timeline that didn't exist. And instead they gave us an answer to a plot hole that no one cared about.
Well, I think that was I mean, if I'm speaking honestly, like, I think that was, it was made to be at the last second the big twist, but I don't think that was meant to be the big twist. I think it was just one explanation of many, because they didn't finish it.
So when big chunks got cut, they were kind of forced to use that as their big closer.
Like I said, the with Eli and the island and Sahelanthropus. Yeah, I don't think that was I think that was just another chapter, and there was going to be a couple chapters after that.
There's nothing like very final about that chapter. When you watch it, you're like, okay, that's like the end of that arc.
Because there's not much in the game that sort of happens.
Right.
When it comes to like doing the missions and stuff, it's like I can track each mission, and each one was sort of like this really tiny, insignificant thing that sort of moved it along a little bit. And then the end of chapter 1 was like, oh, he stole Sahelanthropus. Like, that was the big thing for that chapter. Chapter 2, the end of chapter 2, I don't remember how it's Quiet whatever leaves, or that was the extra mission. I don't even think there was an ending to chapter 2 that was like a big thing.
I think you blow up Sahelanthropus and you kill Skullface, right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Skullface dies.
Yeah.
So like that's the end of chapter 2, and like there was so much shit that was set up or that was like hinging from other games where it was like, okay, next chapter whatever 3, like let's do that, and it was just like, no, there's no more.
Yeah, it's done.
It's too much.
And like, especially like, you know, the last 2/3 of chapter 2 all just being repeats of the missions you've already played. And then just
the only version that I found interesting were the ones that forced you to procure all of your equipment.
Yeah, the
those
OSP
were cool.
ones. Yeah.
The other ones were just like, everything's harder. And I'm like, I don't want to fight these bosses again. Now it's harder.
God, that's awful.
And they just take more damage. That's not interesting.
There was one mechanic that I really didn't understand. Maybe you guys have more insight on it. Okay, so like they made it like this point that the more people you killed, the more bloody you got and the more demonic
there's
you
a karma
turned.
system.
Yeah, but that never ever equated to anything in gameplay, and I don't understand. Like, okay, so you take a shower on base, you wash off the blood, and you're back to normal again. But if you don't wash off the blood, then you get more and more bloodied. Your horn in your forehead gets bigger, and you essentially turn into Demon Snake. What did that have to do with anything?
I don't think it does.
It's a fucking magic meter in Twilight Princess. Like, it was just something that they were like, oops, we didn't implement it correctly.
If I had to guess, there would have been more implications. If I remember correctly, it's not just how many people you kill. It's like a bunch of different criteria that increase or decrease this hidden number. And I think if you create a nuclear weapon for your FOB, that gives you maximum demon points.
Yeah.
And
I'm a
think,
demon now, guys.
if I remember correctly, there's that premise from like Mission 51 where like they're talking in the behind the scenes stuff for the deleted mission that didn't get finished about like the color blindness issue.
Yeah.
Where,
That was a really
He gets
cool
hit with the horn,
dynamic.
which affects his brain.
Yeah, so
And
because he has all of that stuff in his brain,
all the shrapnel
from the helicopter, he can't see the difference between red and white. So in the gameplay, in that part of the story, you're supposed to shoot and kill Eli, but there's different Elis, and one of them is wearing red and the rest are wearing white, and you only get glimpses of it. And you have to decide which one is the right one to shoot.
Yeah. And like my assumption is that probably would have tied into that metaphor where he's all red and bloody as the demon form, and he probably would have tightened that loop somehow.
Yeah.
Like when I think about the ending to Metal Gear Solid 1, Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 3, and Peace Walker, and 4, like he knows how to tie up a story.
He really does.
Like especially in Peace Walker, it has that whole thing about it was a trick and they made U.S. think that they were going to launch a nuke, but they weren't. And
like Peace Walker, when it was being developed, I thought it was going to be so inessential. And
Yeah.
I love that story.
Apparently, he
That
wanted
had
it to
been great.
be called MGS 5.
Yeah.
And I think Konami was like, no, it's a handheld game. You can't call it 5.
Right.
But that's how important he thought it was to the story.
Yeah.
Which,
and there was a lot of really important shit that happened in it.
Especially that date with Kaz on the beach. Very important.
most important
The
part.
linchpin.
You know, people who haven't played Phantom Pain think that the Phantom Pain is his arm being gone. People who have played Phantom Pain think that the Phantom Pain is Snake being replaced by Venom Snake, and that's the Phantom Pain that people are feeling. But if you've actually taken a look at Phantom Pain, the Phantom Pain is actually that we didn't get the full game that we actually wanted.
Yes.
Oh shit!
So
It's my favorite thought about that game, that maybe it was all intentional. Maybe the entire fallout with Konami was all to give all of us a Phantom
like
Pain.
maybe
of
he
what the game
dragged
could
it
have
out
been.
as long as possible because he just wasn't happy.
And then 10 years from now at the Video Game Awards, Kojima's going to take a bow and
with all the higher-ups from Konami.
put his Konami ID tag back on.
If you guys
Kojima
want,
Productions, this new studio is a Konami subsidiary.
Right.
Oh my god!
if you listening to this want to know more about the actual ending of Metal Gear Solid 5, you can get the art book on like Amazon or whatever store you go to. They have a Metal Gear Solid 5 art book, and in the back they actually have a chapter that shows all of the concept art and everything from the Eli mission, and it's worth a look. I recommend it.
But it's still so insignificant. It doesn't wrap anything up.
It wraps
but
up
it's
one plot
interesting.
thread,
Yeah.
which is the last little vial of
I'm just
Parasites.
I'm just saying.
But it's not like the story of Big Boss and Venom.
Right, exactly.
It's a thing they're doing.
And Mission 51, like the one that we're talking about with Eli and Sahelanthropus, Sahelanthropus gets destroyed, right?
It gets destroyed, and then I guess like Baby Psychomantis is able to fix it somehow.
And like, yeah, that kind of leads into MGS 1, but they already led into MGS 1. Like,
Exactly.
it actually doesn't accomplish much of anything.
That's why I thought that the story that he wanted to tell was Big Boss's descent, and all the marketing led me to believe that as well. It just
hell yeah.
further cemented this idea.
that nuclear trailer, it was rad.
pretty
Oh my
good.
god, I downloaded that song.
Yeah, I bought that song. And it was something that you mentioned really quickly when we were talking about the Phantom Pain. Also, part of that whole thing of like, oh my god, what's this game going to be, was the fact that they fucking fired David Hayter.
Oh my god, do you want to talk about David Hayter? Because can we please talk about David Hayter?
I love
want
David
to talk
Hayter,
about David Hayter.
and I was like, fuck, if the reason that they got rid of him was because they didn't think he was up to telling this story and it's going to be so emotional and raw, and I'm like, well, I think he could do that, obviously, but it's like, what is the story going to be? Like, what fucking heart-gripping monologues is Snake going to have to tell us? And there's like 5 lines of that.
Okay, so the reason that I gather from the internet on why they replaced David Hayter was because Konami wanted to eventually make a Metal Gear movie, so they wanted to have the actual guy who plays Snake, is mocapped by Snake, and does the voice of Snake in the game to play Snake in the movie.
He doesn't even look like Kiefer Sutherland though.
Kiefer Sutherland looks like a potato.
Whoa, that's harsh.
I have been on the public saying this many times so far, Barry.
I want to go on the record saying I disagree. I think he's a lovely-looking man.
He
He
used
doesn't
don't
look
think-
like Snake though.
he
If that's
used
the case.
to
But neither
be-
David Hayter kind of does.
David Hayter looks more like
David
Snake.
Hayter
Yeah, so it
fucking
does.
looked just
We don't need
like
a Metal Gear movie. We have the games. We did a whole podcast about that.
All right. Anyways, that was the reason why I think they got rid of him, because they wanted to have an actor who was a triple threat who could do all of the things for the game and actually play him in a movie or some kind of actual real life thing.
I don't believe that.
And okay, so what do you think?
don't
What is
buy
your
into that.
theory? Because
I
I love David Hayter. I thought he was an amazing Snake. I think he got the role. I think he should have continued to do Snake's voice. I'm bummed that he was replaced.
Oh, I agree. I think Kojima just wanted to work with a big actor.
Yeah, with huge respect for Kojima, I think he probably just watched 24 and got a boner and wanted to do it.
Because like apparently David Hayter even was like left in the dust and had no idea why anything happened. He was just like, what do you mean they're making another Metal Gear game? No one's contacted me yet. And
I
that
feel
was
for
how we
him.
found out.
Yeah. Well,
He's
that
my
also
Snake.
happened to
He's my Snake too.
happened to Quentin Flynn as well. He had to like audition for his role
In MGS 4?
for Revengeance.
Jesus, what?
What were they
Yeah.
gonna do without him?
Yeah, I don't know.
Especially, it's like 2 years
And
after
that was like
MGS4 or something.
that was like when it was gonna be canceled or whatever, or like was canceled, like it was confirmed to be canceled.
Did Troy always do the voice of Ocelot, or was that only for 5?
That was only for that game.
Yeah, because he did a really good job.
Troy Baker.
Yeah.
He's
Oh my
amazing.
god,
Yeah.
I adore him.
I'm nostalgic for the old. What is his name?
Those binoculars of yours.
Chris Zimmerman. Or something?
Aaron does a
Except
really
the-
good job with all of their voices.
Yeah.
I do love the time span between. He was basically like a Southern man in MGS V.
Yeah.
Like, and then like.
When MGS 3, he was pure blood American,
Yeah.
Russian, whatever.
And then MGS 1, he sounds like a pirate.
Yeah.
Okay,
This arm.
so like
I like your Metal Gear Awesome. This gun is
Oh,
the
yeah.
best gun.
Yeah. Because he's just like dicking himself off with it. Plus, you saw the Twin Snakes one where he's like flipping it and
Oh,
shit. And it's just like,
Twin Snakes was all I knew for a long time, and then I would go on to like GameFAQs. Everyone's like, "That's the only version that you know." Like you saw him kick flip off a rocket and thought that was normal.
yeah.
I was like, "Yeah."
Because it was directed by the Devil May Cry guy.
That explains a lot.
Yeah. So it was
Most of it's the same.
I don't know, man. The acting's worse, and in my opinion, I know some people
I
feel
can't speak for the
differently.
acting. I know that Mei Ling has a very thick Chinese accent in the original.
It was, yeah. Well,
Again, the Metal Gear Awesome version sticks in my mind.
yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, I guess it was just sort of phoned in. Everyone sort of felt it was phoned in with their performances, if I remember correctly. And it's just like the game was designed to be a certain way, and then the fact that they give you like the first person view and everything
Oh, it broke
sort of
everything.
ruins it.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. The Ocelot battle is a joke in first person.
Oh,
You
yeah.
just follow him walking around.
The only Twin Snakes thing that I'm all about is like in the Metal Gear hangar that there's like the pipes you can shoot to automatically switch the card because like you have to use heat and cold to change the card into 2 different states.
Oh, yeah.
And in the PlayStation version you have to backtrack to like the beginning of the game
Yeah.
to change
Really?
it. Yeah.
Yes,
And in
yeah.
Twin
Oh,
Snakes you
God.
can just jump down and shoot
Yeah.
the thing and change it and it's
Yeah, because it was supposed to be like this whole like cathartic moment where you're like, oh, it's all coming together now, and like I gotta get the cards, and that's what they need me to do, and then they're just like, haha, fuck you, we tricked you.
Gotcha.
Uh,
I don't know.
Konami.
But yeah, no, I was really bummed with the story elements of 5, and it's especially frustrating because of how good the game otherwise is.
right.
I mean, okay, so
fantastic, man.
Can we talk about women in the Metal Gear for a second, real quick? Because
Sure.
at first you think, holy shit, like Kojima is like really like pro woman, like Boss is actually a woman. That's really fucking cool. That's like really progressive for a game,
Meryl
right?
has her moments in 1.
Yeah, Meryl's kind of badass, but then okay,
4.
you start to feel
Well,
a
4,
little
she's
bit
super
weird
badass.
Yeah.
when you meet
Johnny's too.
the what was it, the lingerie designer who also makes stuff for Snake, the weapons designer. What's her name?
What?
Yeah.
Game?
It was one of the earlier ones. There was, I believe it was Mei Ling. It was someone who.
She's in the military.
Yeah. It was one of the military women, but they mention on the side that she also like designs lingerie or something.
Mei Ling developed the
remember
codec system.
There was someone earlier in the
And
game.
then there was Paramedic, who was really in the movies in 3.
Maybe it was Paramedic. No, because Paramedic is actually like the mom of. Okay. Anyways.
No, that's
Okay.
Ava.
So at first you're like, fuck yeah, like. They're all about women, right? But then it goes like it gets a little bit hazy when Quiet comes out, right? Because like
Do you remember his tweets before the game
Oh my
came out?
god.
You're gonna feel sorry.
Yeah, he said that when you found the secret reason for Quiet's appearance, you would be ashamed of your words and deeds.
All right. So while I perfectly know why Quiet is the way she is,
She's a
and-
plant.
and we all love her, we gotta
Her skins.
we gotta
Part plant.
we gotta say what it is. It's fan service, like
Oh no,
plain and simple.
Metal Gear.
it had nothing to do with the plot.
I've always been very conflicted about the series because I think for everything that I love, there's at least one thing that I hate. And yeah, just like I remember MGS 4, I think was like when I was starting to get really critically thinky about like social justice type of things, and the Beauty and the Beast unit is just gross as fuck. They're
I had
just
a
like
tragic backstory. Now I'm a robot.
Yeah.
like the first time
and I'm a supermodel.
yeah, the first time you like fight one of them, like when you like beat octopus, and she's just like wet with slime and rolling around on the ground in front of you, almost nude, and it's just like, oh, this isn't cool.
And there's like a photo mode hidden in the game where they pose for you.
Well, I mean, come on, like
even Paz, like she has like weird, like what the fuck is happening moments where you walking in her in her underwear and stuff.
When she's like 15.
well, even in the first game with Meryl, there's like the underwear cheat.
All right, so how do we go from like woman being like one of the most badass people in the game to all of a sudden only being seen as fan service?
No, that's how it's always been.
Super badass. Just
she's badass, but honestly, like the way that she looks had nothing to do with
technically
the story
it does.
Or the gameplay.
If we're giving him credit, playing devil's advocate.
Does anyone else in the game
There's
a plant?
part of the game
like, that makes no
where
sense.
she's captured
No,
and
actually,
they put clothing on her
actually
and
there
she's
is.
suffocating.
The end in Metal Gear Solid 3 has the same shit about him.
That made me mad.
Yeah.
So talking of plot threads that no one needed resolved.
Yeah.
My head canon. I think I might have said this on like Grumps way back or something, but my theory was that MGS 3 in like the greater Metal Gear story, whatever, is a legend that you play through. It's like the story of how Naked Snake became Big Boss.
Yeah.
It's this like larger than life story where you kill people and they explode and nothing makes sense. And there's a man who's part plant and like whatever. And it's like, it's almost as if Ocelot told that story to someone, and that's the version that you play through, where everything's just over the top insane.
Yeah.
And like that always made me feel really good. I was like, that just makes all the crazy shit feel so justified in that world.
Yeah.
And there are references in the game of like why the Cobra unit explodes when you kill them, and there's like references to stuff. But a lot of the crazier stuff was just left alone. And then in MGS 5 in Phantom Pain, there's the conversation that you can get on a tape at the end. That's like, oh, by the way, it was all the parasites.
Yeah.
It was basically a 60s version of nanomachines.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no, why'd you just no?
No,
Why'd you take that from me?
Code Talker is super blasé about the Cobra unit being one of his like earlier test subjects or something. It's really lame. And that's the thing too, is that's how they always do that stuff, where I don't know if either Kojima is not interested in it at all and someone was forcing his hand, or he was like way too into it and patting himself on the back for connecting.
I feel like it's more that.
Yeah, I bet.
He so over-explains everything. It's like the 90-minute cutscene at the end of Metal Gear Solid 4 that like didn't need to be that long.
And then it's followed by another cutscene after the credits.
Yeah.
I like that cutscene, the one in the graveyard.
Well, yeah, that one's great.
That one was good.
Especially like the build-up. The shit that he did when he does that is great. He's good at like that tension, the dramatic tension.
He's really good at knowing what a player will be thinking at any moment. And when you have those credits going by in MGS 4 and you see a voice actor credit for Big Boss, and you're like, wait, Big Boss wasn't in this game. And then it just cuts to a cutscene where Big Boss walks up and he's like, what's up? I'm like, holy shit. And that's like another half an hour cutscene.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say though about MGS 3 is like they explain the end being a plant man, but like they just like leave alone that like when the Fury dies, he turns into like a giant face made of fire that chases him down a hallway.
You can't explain that with Parasites, Kojima, no matter how hard you try.
Yeah.
My theory's correct.
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, though, the whole game itself is just, it's fan service. It's you get to live a fantasy. You're with fantasy characters.
But so much of those games is about like your fantasies are wrong. You know?
I do think though that those are just two plates that he's doing a bad job of keeping spinning.
Yeah. I think that's the case too. I think it's like, and it's especially easy with this game because of that Kojima is such an auteur, right? So it's so easy to trace, like he just likes bikini magazines, and so he puts a bunch of bikini models in his game.
And wouldn't it be funny if it affected the AI?
Yeah.
It can be endearing in the game, like when Snake like gets distracted by those things, or can leave them out to distract other people, or things like that. Like that's kind of endearing to the character, right? I like that. But the fact that like Quiet her main purpose in the game was just fan service. It was just kind of like, come on.
What about in
come on.
near the end of MGS 2 when you're running around in Arsenal gear and you're in that hallway where you're trapped for a while, and if you keep running around, your radar turns into a video of like a bikini-clad woman crawling around.
Oh my God.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Which it's just, why is that there? Who knows?
There's a bunch of
fun
crap.
Or like I think there were some lockers that you could hide inside of that would have pinup magazine or pinup posters, and you could knock on them and it'd make a sound effect. Like he's always been into the kind of titillation, and if anything, I thought it was kind of an inversion of that a bit with Eva in 3.
I think that was
that she's
what he was going
just
for.
Like straight up TNA like for most of the game, and she's flirting with Snake throughout the entire game, but he's dealing with all of this shit with the boss, and he's like, I can't do this.
Yeah,
and at the end of the game, they
does it.
And they do. But that's like after everything's already settled.
And that's something again about
the hero worship in the series, where like it seems to be that Eva's all sexy so that she can seduce him, and she ends up actually being the most powerful figure in the story of MGS 3.
Right.
But then in MGS 4, they reveal that she spent the rest of her life obsessed with him.
And then she was like the surrogate mom.
Like giving over her
she was.
body. And it's like,
And then
that doesn't
her
really
character
track.
kind of takes a plummet. Because her arc in 3 is very interesting. And then post 3, it's like, it's just
She's there
there.
for a motorcycle scene.
Disappointing.
Yeah.
Very disappointing.
I remember when I was a kid, I came up with a character that was like almost exactly quiet. It was like she had some skin disease, so she had to like wear a bikini all around. Just because I was a fucking horny kid, but
Right.
I was like, yeah, it's so clever. 'Cause I'm gonna,
There's
it's
a
like
reason.
it's like a story reason, and it's gonna like culminate and
Yeah.
That's what Kojima was doing while he's developing the character.
You're gonna blame Kojima for doing the same thing just because he was like 45?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I fucking love it. But for example, Aaron and I were just talking this morning. I was looking at his Quiet figure in his office, and I was like, oh my God, I love that Quiet figure. But like, why did they make her boobs unproportionally big, like from what she looks like in the game?
That's true. She could have had like a very natural.
And the reason why they
looking
did it was
set.
just so they could make the figure's boobs squishy. They needed them to be big enough to put the squish stuff inside of
put
them.
the jiggle
Got
physics
the
on.
squish in them.
The game would have been good without that. It didn't need that. Like the game was good enough on its own.
Because unlike with Eva, there's no like kind of understanding or like acknowledgement of like, yes, these are boobs in your face. Like in MGS 3, you can hold a button to be looking at her boobs. During
Eva
cutscenes.
was sexy because she had a reason to be sexy, right? She was there to seduce Snake.
She was Eve seducing the snake.
Yeah.
The
Oh my
opposite of the
God,
Bible.
Yeah. But Quiet, her kind of role was to romance Snake as well, but not in a sexual way.
She was trying to kill him.
She was at first, but then she did not. Like
Right.
the whole point of her leaving was because she didn't want to kill him at the end of the game because she
Well, that's
loved
why she's
him.
quiet, is to not kill them.
Because she loves him.
Yeah.
And so like I feel like that is a different type of love and romance.
It's
you know
almost
what
more
I
like a
mean?
Bond girl.
Yeah.
Where they're the best Bond girls have things going on, but a lot of them are just like, look at my boobs. Oh no, now I'm part of the plot.
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
Eva's like a deliberate lamp shading of that, which is I think actually pretty clever.
I think it's pretty well done for the most
And
part.
then Quiet, there's that cutscene where it's raining and she's rolling around like she's a toddler, and it's just like, what are
And
you
Snake's
doing?
ring
Yeah.
does not support
It just-
smiling very well.
It just doesn't fit. It just doesn't fit. Is all
Yeah.
I'm saying. Because like Ava, like
it didn't
even,
bother me, but I completely understand why
Yeah.
it bothered people.
like Ava, she's objectified, but I understand it for the story. Quiet is objectified, and it really is just like, all right, great, she's a plant. Now what are you gonna throw at us? Like,
I feel ashamed of my words and deeds.
yeah.
right, Kojima.
And even like hearing that about that tweet now, it's just like, really, Kojima.
I remember seeing that and be like,
really?
oh fuck, like what's it gonna be? Because
Yeah.
oh boy, that's a strong claim to make.
Oh boy.
Wait,
It's one thing to say like there's a reason. It's another to be like, you will be ashamed of your deeds.
hold on. This is completely unrelated.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember. So, was there 2 Sahelanthropuses in Metal Gear Solid 5?
I think there's just the one.
Because at the end of Chapter 1, Eli steals it, but then you fight it at the end of Chapter 2 because Skullface is in it?
No, I think you kill Skullface before Eli steals it. Like you like
Yeah, he was gonna get in it.
I think Eli steals at the end of chapter 2.
I think
Because chapter 1 ends with them bringing the broken Sahelanthropus to Mother Base.
I think,
Airlifted in.
I think that the whole thing is that chapter 2 does not end.
Didn't they have one and then Huey was building one on base?
No, they bring the broken one back.
When
to
does
base.
Eli steal it?
I think it's at the end of chapter 2.
I-
Or it's like a random part of chapter 2.
Yeah.
Because everything feels random in chapter 2.
Can we talk about how Eli changes whenever he is? I mean, not Eli. What's his name? Little octopus boy. What's his name?
Psychomantis?
Psychomantis.
Psychomantis.
Octopus boy.
I'm sorry,
Sorry.
Kraken.
Aaron knew who I was talking about.
Decoy octopus?
Yeah.
Why doesn't he get a backstory?
What the fuck is his name?
Psycho Mantis?
What's his real name?
He had a real name.
Oh, it was like a bunch of Russian
It was
stuff.
some Russian thing. Okay, did you notice that in the game, whenever he is with another character or influencing them, he takes on part of their appearance?
I did not notice that, but I learned about that while reading about the Metal Gear.
Yeah.
I was on the Metal Gear wiki and saw screenshots.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, fuck.
When he's like influencing Eli, for example, he gets the red handkerchief on his shoulder like Eli has. When he's influencing Snake, I think he has an eye patch or something, doesn't he?
I don't think he influences Snake, does he?
He does. He influences everyone.
Well,
He's on fire when he's influencing the Burning Man. Like he is actually a lot of the driving force, and they never really tap into that in the
He
story.
gets
Why?
Skullface's weird like goggle things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's really subtle.
So like they never really explain into that, and you don't notice it until afterwards. Like I didn't notice that until
I don't
much
think it's
later.
anything more than just like he has a psychic link with them, and it's just a game.
But why represent it?
Yeah,
and,
but
like,
come on. Kojima would have over-explained it like
Yeah.
crazy if he had a
Like
chance.
that was something that also wasn't
know.
tied up.
He never explained why there's psychic abilities in this game that's based on science, like
Yeah.
science fiction, nanomachines and shit.
I feel like something that symbolic he
Or
would have
why the fuck-
over-explained
He didn't explain
later.
Well, I guess I can't point anything in fans' opinion. Like they didn't explain that because nothing is explained.
I guess, yeah, he would have explained it at MGS 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Maybe
Or at
they'll
least at
explain
the-
it in Survive.
At least at the end of 5, I mean, come on, man. Like, there was clearly some, like, who was really pulling the strings, you know? Like, and they never answered that.
It was 0, I guess.
And what did he have to do with fucking anything? What did Tread, I looked it up, Rebenock.
Oh,
yeah.
The third child or
Yeah.
whatever.
What did he have to fucking do with anything? He didn't do anything.
Well,
What was he there for?
He gave Eli the power to take Sahelanthropus.
Yeah,
But was it him controlling?
We don't know, and we'll never know, and it
was him
doesn't
controlling
matter.
Eli and
It does
helping-
matter.
How does it matter?
Because Eli
he
could have
was
done that
planning
shit on his own.
explaining it, I'm sure.
Well, okay, so say we had Chapter 51. Well, I agree with you that Chapter 51 would not have been the end of the game.
Yes.
Because it would have been either they take back Sahelanthropus or they destroy it for good, and maybe there's some dialogue about, oh, we shouldn't let walking tanks be a thing, and then Big Boss is like, I don't know, there might be something there. Because they do that in every fucking Metal Gear game that's before the first one.
Yeah. But maybe the Dreadnought was...
Eli would just be like, I hate you, father, and then become obsessed with Big Boss, which is in MGS 1. There's nothing that we need out of that story that we don't already have.
No, it's exactly what we need as his descent, is what you're talking about.
Right, but I think that's way more than just that
And
one
it
mission.
probably had to do with Rebenock.
I think that the story could have benefited from being a more of a global perspective. And they had all these different locations, but almost this big picture angle, which they kind of start to get into in Ground Zeroes, where they're talking about, oh, we have to like hide our nukes underneath the platform because we're getting inspected by the UN, which is like, you think you might be a bad guy when you're hiding your nukes from the UN? Like, I thought like that was a taste of like, they're going to be making these decisions where like, yeah, no, that makes sense. But then you're like, oh, fuck, this is just complete moral relativism. And
Yeah.
they're going down a dark fucking path, and they're arming child soldiers now for XYZ reasons. Like, I thought there were going to be all of these pieces of the story where they had a goal to accomplish, and they would pick the worst possible option every time.
Yeah,
And
like,
just dig themselves deeper and deeper until now we are the demons. Like, that's what I thought that game was going to be.
yeah,
It
and
probably was. That's what I'm saying.
pre-release there was
guess.
footage of them like torturing Huey, and it seems like, oh my god, what happened to Snake?
Yeah, but
these
Huey's a
days?
piece of
Like,
shit.
That's
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, he ends
Yeah,
up being
Huey
just a
was an
fucking
asshole.
asshole.
But without the context, you're like, oh no, what are they doing to him?
Yeah.
He's Otacon. He's a sweet boy.
Yeah, and then they just, instead of making Snake a bad guy, turns out he was just in a bad position because Huey was like a
And he
really
wasn't even
cartoonishly
Snake the
awful
whole
dude.
time.
So what the fuck was Skullface? I've played it
don't
like
know.
3 times and I just don't remember. He was
He's
like
a cartoon
anything.
villain.
He was
Such a lust for revenge.
so he was tailing Big Boss through
Yes.
all of his exploits,
He
like
was the
cleaning up
opposite
his
side
messes.
of the coin,
Yeah.
right? Didn't he say that?
Well,
maybe.
he didn't he say directly. He was
just
like,
a
"I'm the guy who was
cartoon
cleaning up
villain.
your messes." Like,
Yeah, the way I remember it is that like you're going through Snake Eater, killing people, knocking them out, whatever, and he
Yeah.
was just with a team behind you, like sweeping the dust to make sure that there wasn't anything left behind.
yeah,
That's my understanding, and I guess that made him resent him over time for doing his job.
I guess.
I don't know.
But so, what was his role symbolically, or whatever?
He wanted to destroy Zero, I think.
Okay.
And he guess he thought a weapon would do that. Sahelanthropus.
Yeah.
Which I gotta respect Kojima that he like looked that up on Wikipedia. Like, what's the name of the missing link between this and this? And he's like, let's just use that.
Yeah.
Like, why don't we call it something else and then just reference that as like a nickname? Nope, it's called Sahelanthropus. Let's get every voice actor to have the correct pronunciation of Sahelanthropus.
That's something that does actually kind of bum me out about the whole thing is like and I actually completely buy the idea that nobody was pressuring Kojima to keep doing this, but like I feel like Metal Gear 1, the story is pretty well rounded already.
Yeah.
Like it's
the
pretty
very
complete.
first one.
It's got a real cinematic twist to it.
And like Big Boss, like he talks about his rationale for doing it, about how war is like this machine that claims people's lives and their identities, and he wants to create a nation for them. And
I'm
that's
not
what outer
claiming
heaven is.
5 as a story needed to exist. Even what I wanted 5 to be.
I didn't think you were.
But I'm like, as long as they're making 5, it would be interesting to play a game where you end the game as a bad guy.
But I think that's kind of the funny thing is like when I heard that MGS 3 was being announced, I was like, why are they doing that? And then they had it
as a prequel?
No, they hadn't announced that it was a prequel yet. Oh. And they found an interesting rationale for it for the most part. Mm-hmm. But then like MGS 4, the story feels really inessential, but like they did some interesting stuff.
That was also the bummer. I remember the early concept art they put out for MGS 4. Snake was like in his 30s. He wasn't old Snake then. And I was like, oh man, they're going to show Snake going after the Patriots and they're going to get Sonny back.
And it's like riding with like Olga's baby, like real fresh. Like, and it's like,
And it's like, nah, that's not the story.
And then Portable Ops, the missing link.
Metal Gear Acid.
Was Portable Ops canon?
I don't think so.
I think there's a disagreement about that.
Okay.
Metal Gear Ghost Babel for the Game Boy Color.
Well,
that apparently has a good soundtrack.
That one is explicitly non-canon.
Oh, what about Acid? Acid Squared.
Acid's 100% canon.
Acid, and then in Acid 2, you find out partway through that Solid Snake.
It's
3D. Yeah, the cardboard thing you're holding is actually a portal to another universe. It's actually happening in a parallel dimension. The plot of Acid 2 is, I think, if I'm remembering,
I believe it was Acid Squared, Jory.
In Acid Cubed, it turns out that
with an exclamation mark.
Snake
Acid.
Acid.
Well, it was an exclamation mark for the eye.
Yeah,
it was upside down eye. Yeah.
I think the plot of that one is no joke that Solid Snake actually did die when the tanker like went down.
Whoa.
And that the Snake you're playing as is a clone.
A clone of a clone.
And nothing about it makes sense. But
well, I mean, we're talking about Metal Gear. That could easily be the plot of Metal Gear Solid 5, you know?
Yeah. I have to ask, are any of you guys going to buy Metal Gear Survive?
I think I will.
Yeah.
All right, fine, I will.
We're buying
Quick to turn, Aaron.
Well, if everyone else is going to play it, it's a multiplayer game.
Come on.
If all my friends are jumping off a bridge, they have a good reason to jump off that bridge.
No, it's because
I trust my friends.
It's specifically because it's a multiplayer game.
That's
If
true.
it were a single player game, I'd be like, still no, I don't care.
This is a party of 4.
If they made another
Yeah.
Metal Gear game, even without Kojima, I would still buy it.
They are making.
They are doing
without
Well,
Kojima.
no, but it doesn't have Snake in it. The new one doesn't.
As far as we know.
If they made another game with Snake and a storyline with Snake, I would still buy it even without Kojima because I still think that storyline could be made without Kojima.
When we go to Japan next, are we seeking out that pachinko game?
Yeah, we have. I have to try it at least, right?
It's
will
apparently
actually
very
say
hard to find.
The cutscenes are all on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it good?
If you're a big old nerd, they are actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
They're very pretty. Some of them are a little bit awkward.
Yeah.
Some of the models are strange.
They shut down their entire game company to do this, so I hope.
Yeah,
I think they were working on it anyway, and it was bad timing.
Do you think
And
maybe
they're
they were making a remaster of Metal Gear Solid 3 and they were like, you know, let's just make cutscenes. Let's just
Do you
the
think that
cutscenes.
they were actually influenced by any kind of Japanese mafia to just
Whoa.
make pachinko games and
No,
to
I
drop
think
the
that was
gameplay
just their
aspect?
biggest
Not a
moneymaker.
not a
from the
twist I was
beginning.
expecting in this story.
Yeah,
No.
I think pachinko's just way more profitable for no investment.
I have no knowledge on the pachinko world, but what I hear of it is that it is completely controlled by the Yakuza.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
So I
Like the parlors are.
yeah.
Just everything.
Yeah,
Everything?
like it is.
Whoa.
That is actually how the Yakuza get their money. So,
Damn.
if you guys don't know what Pachinko is, it's a gambling game, and
It's like Plinko.
It's huge in Japan, and Konami closed down
It's
to
that mini
only
game in
focus
every
on
game
making
you've
those.
played that you hate.
But they've been making pachinko games forever.
Yeah.
And
But
what-
to close all game operations and go backwards like that feels like you're just giving up.
Well,
Like, it doesn't
that
feel
was
like
just
I'm
where
moving
people were
forward.
pointing their fingers at pachinko, like because it was bad timing that they released.
Yeah.
They were like, "By Kojima, by the way, there's a Metal Gear Solid 3 pachinko game." Like,
And like a
they were clearly
Castlevania
working on
pachinko
that
game.
for a
Yeah.
couple months, if not like a year or
And
two.
as much as Konami actually sucks, like there were a lot of coincidences where like Lords of Shadow 2, which again they trusted to a Western developer, the Lords of Shadow games, like Lords of Shadow 2 critically and commercially tanked, and
Yeah.
that was actually I think their like last straw, not anything
Because
to
that's
do with
fucking
MGS5.
Castlevania. That's like their second biggest franchise.
Yeah.
Which we got that Netflix show.
Yeah.
So Konami did something right this year.
I mean, clearly they're still using their IPs and branching out. They just.
They're just not making games.
I mean, look, it could be entirely Kojima's fault that Konami decided to stop making games because of how fucking expensive Metal Gear Solid was.
It could be.
That's
Yeah.
totally possible.
I mean, I definitely am going to buy Survive, but if for no other reason, just to be like, what is this?
Does it have a release date yet?
No.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it gets canceled, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Because I don't even think it was at E3 this year.
Well, I think they expected Metal Gear Online to be a lot bigger than it really ended up being.
I tried to get into it, but I wanted to try the different classes and see how they played. But they like RPG progression system lock you out of having multiple character slots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you pick one character, which is just a text description, then it's like, yep, that's who you have for the next 20 hours.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I thought I would like a mid-range character, but I want to play a sniper. Guess I got to play for 20 hours and level up to unlock a second character slot. So I just stopped. It wasn't worth it.
Everyone I knew who played it for like a week, if not maybe a month, and then they dropped it.
A online stealth game can be a ton of fun.
Yeah.
I've played. I remember I was really into the multiplayer for Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, which is maybe a weird thing to be into, but that was a really fun multiplayer mode where you had other players as your target, and you would be an NPC, and you're in a world of like 5 NPCs. There's just clones everywhere, and you would just hide in plain sight, and it was super fun.
That is the thing too. Is like, Metal Gear Online that came with MGS 5 was basically just a deathmatch game. Like it was so unbalanced.
With like weird elements
sucked.
that
Yeah,
were.
like nobody played it even as a stealth
Sucked
game. Everybody just
major
get wild.
balls.
Yeah,
Was
it really did.
was the Metal Gear Online with 3 good?
People,
I didn't have a
people,
PS2
people
network
loved
adapter.
it. Yes,
Yeah,
people
three.
loved it.
and
They
the one
could've
with
done it
4
right.
people loved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
remember
There's still an online community for it because it was like the servers went down and then people hosted their own servers, and so you can play like a hacked. I don't know if I'm getting this right, but
That sounds
there are
familiar.
people that jerry rigged some system to be able to continue playing Metal Gear Online.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I think they're making progress with Metal Gear Online 2, the MGS 4 one. Like I think they're making their own servers for that. Too.
Oh, right on.
People are all about it.
Yeah.
All I remember about the online for 3 was reading that there was some wrestling game on the PS2 with these big busted women. They were like,
Rumble
Roses.
Rumble Roses, and you could play as them in MG Online.
Yep.
You could fight a Rathalos and Peace Walker.
Right.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
There was an Ape Escape minigame in 3.
That's
They've
right.
always been goofy as
They had
fuck.
they had the
I
Boktai
love
gun.
the goofy
Yep.
stuff, man.
In 4, yeah. Sunlight.
Yeah. And all we got was a chicken hat in 5.
Yeah. Oh, bro.
No, we got the hamburgers. That was goofy.
I do like the
Hamburgers.
hamburger
Yeah.
tapes. Yeah, those are
Yeah,
really good.
those are really goofy and fun.
Yeah.
You get D-Dog.
D-Dog's
He was
pretty
a good
cute.
boy. He wasn't very goofy.
D-Dog
though.
goes, row.
The character model swap where they made
Oh, yeah.
Ocelot
Oh
on
my
top of the
God.
dog skeleton.
Wow,
that was
beautiful.
goofy.
Yeah.
It was a little bit goofy because you could change your company sigil and
That's true.
your company
Sons
name
of Fat.
too, and
Yeah.
change the color of your base. You could make
Mine
it
was
hot pink.
mine was
I like
pink
that.
horse, and I had a pink Pegasus.
Ours was Sons of Fat. We had
Sons of Fat. And it was a
baby
big fat chicken.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think mine was just called Small, and it was just a picture of a chick.
I think if I landed on your FOB, I would have just bailed. I'd be like, it's not worth it. He has nothing.
Fucking Joker.
Just leave me alone.
And you have a stockpile armada of nukes.
I mean, say what you will though, Metal Gear Solid 5 still my favorite game of all time.
Really?
It's fucking fantastic.
It is a good
And
game.
and if
Anytime
you,
Susie's like, let's play Metal Gear Solid 5, I'm like, I'm kind of into it.
yeah, I mean, like even if you like just want to watch it as a cinematic, you can search in a Google, YouTube even, Metal Gear Solid 5 the movie,
Is
and
it
it's
15
all of
minutes long?
No, it's like 8 hours
joking.
long.
Yeah.
It's like all of the cutscenes put together, and you can watch it as if it was a movie. And sometimes I put it on in the background, and I'll still watch it.
You could
and
put on
love
those
it.
thousands of cassette tapes as an audiobook.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it does play out like a movie.
Just doesn't end.
Yeah.
How long has it been?
Doesn't have the right ending.
Since Metal Gear Solid 5.
It's been like 2 or 3 years.
2
years?
2 years.
Yeah.
Because I felt like it should have been more influential. Because it was so fucking... It was an open world game.
It was beat into the ground because of people worried about it being anti-feminist or whatever because of Quiet, and it scared a lot of people away from the game, honestly.
I think the Konami drama just drowned out all the conversation about.
Well, that didn't
what the
come
game
until
was.
after the game was like already out.
No, it was
right?
before the game came out because
And,
they removed Kojima's name from the box art before it came out.
There were a lot of people who were against the game before it even came out. I think they didn't give it a chance.
Forgive me if I'm wrong, because I do think this is actually something really interesting about MGS 5, is that it actually, I saw it earn a huge audience from like people who are fans of like immersive sims. Like I saw people who love System Shock picking up MGS 5 because
Sure.
it's so immersive and so systems driven.
And it was
It's really
such a
awesome.
simple idea. The fact
And,
that if you always attack at night, then the guards get night vision goggles, and if you go for headshots, then they get helmets. And it's like that is such a simple system.
Yeah.
But it forces you to improvise in all these different situations.
And MGS 5, if I remember correctly, and I could be remembering completely wrong, I think it actually sold the best of any of the Metal
Yes,
Gear
yeah, it
games.
sold very well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like it.
Which
it
is what,
killed.
which is why I was asking, like, how come it wasn't as influential as it?
You're talking
should
about
have
with
been?
other games?
Yeah, because it was so systems. Like I remember there was a mission where it had like 3 parts to it, and if you like skip ahead to other parts, like it was like. It was like this dude, he was an important diplomat, and then like he was going on this mission where he had to meet with these 3 different people. And so like he would go and then stop and get out and meet with this person and then like get back in and
That
go.
was in Africa, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, so you could, if you knew the level, and there's a helicopter waiting for him at the end. So like all that stuff was set up in that mission, and you could just be like, well, fuck it. It's like, oh, he's starting here, so follow his Jeep and stuff. And that's how typically you do it. But like, if you knew the map, you could just go to the people that he's going to rendezvous with and like fuck with them or something. And that'll like alert him, or and it'll make him like rush to the helicopter, or like you could Fulton like the people that he's going to meet with because they're really important people and they have good stats and shit. Like there was so much open-endedness to it. And I'm like, why hasn't that been in games?
Yeah.
I think it's too recent, even still to this day, because games.
That's why I was asking.
Yeah, I
That's
figured that was why
probably
you
true.
asked
Yeah.
the year, because I think it takes like what 5, if not more, years to make a game like this, and I think it will be hugely influential to games in the future, but they just haven't come out yet.
I hope so, man, because that shit was awesome. That mission blew. I played that mission like 20 times. It was so
If I
fucking
remember correctly, there was also a like shack hidden somewhere that had like the route just laid out on a map.
That's
You could
awesome.
scan it and it would be
still-
like, here's where he's going.
probably.
I still have not to this day played a game that had better graphics. That like
The Fox engine was super
the
good.
people.
Yeah.
I mean, they looked amazing.
And the Fox engine lives on to this day in the Pro Evolution Soccer series.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Powered by the Fox engine.
And the
mean-
Metal Gear Solid 3 Pachinko.
That was a low poly game too.
I adored the way
Yeah,
they
it
made
ran on
Snake look in that
PS3.
game.
Yeah.
Like I loved the way they made all of the characters look in that game.
I think
Like,
Bloodborne's the most beautiful game right now. It's fucking gorgeous.
I'm biased because I have like an emotional connection to Metal Gear, but
Shenmue 3 is going to beat it.
Shenmue 3 looks like absolute dog shit.
It's going to beat it. Give it time, brother.
It looked like a Dreamcast pre-rendered cutscene. It was like, my god.
do you guys want to play Metal Gear tonight?
Kind of do.
Yeah, I do.
I think part of why we might not be seeing the influence of Phantom Pain for a while is also because how expensive it must be to create all those interlocking AI
yeah.
systems.
Oh, yeah.
And have it react to you in a compelling way, more so than the Bethesda answer of like, yeah, you can break the game, but the NPCs are really, really dumb. So you have a lot of agency as a player, but theirs can be like, oh, you stole that, and then they chase you out of town, and then you can arrive 20 years later, and they're like, hey, I'm going to chase you out of town.
Yeah.
Because they just have a flag that they don't like you. And it's way harder to create all these paths for a guy to move through and have these different moments, and then if you destroy this at this point, like he has a response to that, and like his guards can respond to that.
I do.
That's why Ground Zeroes was such a brilliant, and it sucked that it was a separate game because apparently it was supposed to be all one game, and that was going to be like the first chapter.
Right.
It was so brilliant to have like this closed space to explore all those possibilities to set you up for, okay, now that it's open, keep in mind that this shit is everywhere.
That's really
so like you can go to a base and it'll be its own living, breathing thing where people do things and they go places.
But now you can attack it from any angle instead of just like the one spot you can enter.
So if you missed Ground Zeroes, I feel like that was an integral part of the tutorial that you totally missed out on. So you don't really get the full potential of Phantom Pain.
I just remember playing the second mission of Ground Zeroes where you have to listen to an audio recording of Chico being taken into the camp. And you hear like the car revving, and then you hear...
That was the main mission.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I thought the first part was getting Chico, and then you get pause. Is that all one big mission?
It's all one big mission.
Yeah.
That's the story mission.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there's
been a while.
there's like a shitload of little tiny missions that you can do after that.
And then the really silly, goofy ones
with
where it looks like MGS
Kojima and
We played that again recently, like within the last year, I think.
Ground Zeroes?
Yeah.
Probably. I got really good at it because they flew me to Japan to play it before it came out. And they wanted us to 100% it, and I was like, all right.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I like knew that map backwards and forwards.
But I just remember that the PAS part of the story mission where you had to listen for the audio cues of like where that truck was going. In hindsight, it's not a huge map, so you probably could just find it by wandering around. But I remember just sitting there and like listening to it on loop, being like, okay, he's going through a tunnel, I think, and now he's going to, there's a flagpole, he's passing it, and there's like a big gate opening somewhere, and just being like, this is gonna be so cool in Phantom Pain if they do something like this, where you have to pay so much close attention to what the world is, what the environment is, because that's one thing that, at the very least, you know, like if you can talk about two influential open world games, it'd be Phantom Pain and Breath of the Wild. Because Breath of the Wild makes every square inch of land important in its own way. Granted, so many of them are Korok seeds, and you can argue about that. But there is a real reason to pay attention to your surroundings at all times. In Phantom Pain, you can sort of just stare at the map while you're traveling, and the size of the world didn't really matter as much. It was just sort of the individual locations that were designed for missions or for the bases. But there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that one moment in Ground Zeroes made me think that the world itself would be more vital to that game than it was.
And all open world games kind of struggle with that. Like the GTA games do stuff where they like pepper in, like 4 and 5, you'll run into like a random NPC on the street that triggers a little story scene. Like they try to find ways to justify the fact that the open world is basically just a mission hub.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah.
But bullshit. I was so mad because it was the perfect metaphor for like the Wild Wild West.
For sure.
Wicked Wawa.
Yeah. The Wild West. I don't know. I guess that's just ingrained in my memory.
Oh yeah.
It's the Millennium.
But it's like oh, there's a bunch of players just going around fucking around with each other but it's like no. You go to a town and then you do this and then you do a mission where you storm a fucking Alamo or whatever.
Maybe Red Dead 2, man. Maybe Red Dead 2.
Doubt it.
Maybe they'll finally get the giant steampunk spider in Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Finally.
I hope
Yes.
Historically accurate
Yeah.
steampunk spider.
I have no faith in any open world game developers to like actually go the extra mile and make their world actually open world, because they can just do what GTA did and make $1 billion. So why would they bother?
Yeah.
It would take somebody like Kojima who's like, no, I want to do it this way, to actually do it, and then get ousted from the company and spend millions of dollars.
Right.
And then just end up making Hannibal fan fiction by accident.
Exactly.
Oh my god, yes, that's all that it is. Death Stranding, it's like all the same actors.
What kind of game do you think Death Stranding is going to be? Is it going to be a stealth game?
It's gonna be a third-person game for sure.
Probably third person.
It's not gonna be a fucking like Tetris puzzler or something.
Oh my god, with those graphics?
You gotta find the fetus.
A match 3 game?
Oh yeah, like the tentacle gush. Like you have to find it like in the right piles and stuff.
I think it's gonna have a lot of components from Metal Gear. Even in the trailer itself, you see him have the same face thing like Wyatt has.
Yeah,
like,
even Boktai was very Metal Gear-esque. Like I think that's just what he does.
I think
that's
it's
what he
just
likes.
gonna be. And I hear rumor that maybe Stephanie Houston, the actress of Quiet, and what's her name? The singer who does all of the music in Metal Gear. What's her name?
Oh, Donna Burke.
Nice.
Seems like they've been hanging out
voice of the
together a
android.
lot lately, huh?
Really?
Maybe they'll be in
I think
it
it's because
too.
they're like the only they just
female people that he works
yeah
with.
they met
Japan.
in Japan and they are both foreigners that live in Japan.
Yeah.
We're gonna feel foolish when they both show up in Metal Gear Survive.
You're gonna be ashamed.
Oh my god. This isn't great
Sins of
though.
the Father is such a good song.
Oh my god. All of the Metal Gear songs. I mean, Sins of the Father doesn't make sense though. Like,
What do you mean? What doesn't make sense about it?
am I thinking about the right one?
The what?
Yeah. No, when you listen to the lyrics don't make any sense.
What's that kill?
Yeah.
That's the whole plot of the
The
game.
entire game.
No, there were parts of it that did not make any sense.
I'd have to
to
listen
me.
to it again.
Yeah, because like I recall listening to the lyrics and like because I have it on my phone. I
I
listened
remember
to it.
first listening to it being like, what the fuck does words that kill mean?
No, but there were some parts that were just
it
like,
does
all
make
right,
sense.
these are just weird sayings thrown together. And
Well, he is a Japanese man, Susie. Don't
Yes.
shame him.
I'm not shaming.
Don't.
Forgot about that entire plot point.
Yeah, it's not really important.
That whole thing.
Even though
it's not
it's-
important because it didn't pay off.
Except for the quarantine, which we didn't even talk about. The quarantine seems like the only part of that game was like, yes!
They never got
this
to
is
pay off
Metal Gear.
anything in
The
that game.
creepies,
That's why
the
that's
lungs.
it wasn't finished.
The quarantine section was the only part that felt like a Metal Gear.
Yeah, that's like the only.
As much as I
wild
love the
idea.
gameplay of Phantom
It felt
Pain,
completed too.
yeah, that felt like maybe it was like the first thing they made. It was like, this is this chunk of the game.
Right.
And they were able to ship it.
Because that could have been one game alone.
Well, I disagree there. That was clearly one part.
Wait, what are we talking about?
The quarantine, where the vocal parasites are like going crazy, because you have to identify all the people in your roster, which that was fucking smart.
That was hard.
Oh yeah.
And then you
yeah.
quarantine them, and then you find out like several missions later that like there's something wrong, or they lost contact with the quarantine zone. So you go to that platform and you go in, and then you work your way through it. Everyone's like, Snake, help me, and you go to the top, and they're all trying to get outside. And I think they say like the birds are gonna eat them, and then the birds will spread the parasites. Some shit. So then they're like, okay, Snake, you gotta kill them all. And then you go back down through the whole quarantine.
And you kill everybody.
Killing every single one of your men.
And they even like set up like the dog dies at the end type of thing, where you pick up the one person who appears not to be diseased, and then at the last second, like fucking Ocelot's like, wait a second, boss.
Well, and then
It was
there's
great.
also like the UI is the same. Like if you send people on a mission and they die, there's a little thing in the corner that pops up like so and so died, and it happens every single time you shoot one.
Yeah.
It's so
You get the
sad.
guys that salute you, and it's just
Oh
like,
god, I forgot. Yeah, they're like
Yeah.
humming the theme from Peace Walker.
No.
are they?
Yeah.
Don't you get to see their
Oh,
stats too
Jesus.
and their
Yep.
names and everything?
Oh,
Well, because
Yeah.
this
really
is
sad.
after. I remember having to go through because you spend the whole game building up your base
Yeah.
and flying everyone out with
There's
balloons.
so much.
And you have to
in this
go through.
game.
You have to figure out what they have in common, and that was like a really interesting puzzle.
And
then you're sending them all to the quarantine. You're like, I have no men now, and then
Yeah.
you kill them all, and you're like,
This,
oh.
this was a big bummer, but I had the language thing spoiled for me, which sucked.
That's a bummer.
And it one thing that was kind of fun about it was I did it incredibly early, like right away, as soon as I could quarantine people. I put everybody who spoke that language into the quarantine.
Even before they were like, hey, boss, there's a thing you got to think about.
And so the next mission, they say, hey, boss, there's a thing you gotta think about. And then the next mission, like, causes, like, could that really be it? Like, the game knows you have figured it out and
Right.
acknowledges it, which is pretty badass.
You're so good at the
actually.
voices too.
Wow, yeah. Breath of the Wild kind of did that too.
With what?
Specifically with the child. She's like an old woman, but she got turned into a child because of an experiment. I forgot her name.
Not Pura.
Yeah, I think it's Pura or something like that.
Or is that the girl with the Impa's like daughter or whatever?
Oh, you're thinking Maya.
Maya? Huh.
Anyway,
I played that game for 3 weeks straight, and then
she's got
put it down.
her little observatory is at the top of a hill.
Yes, and
and
she has that dude who helps her
in order
out.
to activate that transport point, you have to light the fire outside with a blue fire.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go to her and you talk to her, she's like, "Oh, go light that shit with blue fire," and you're like, "All right." So you have to go and do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you already know that, and you light it and you go up and you light it before you even walk in. You walk in and she's like, well, okay, I didn't complete the story. She fucks with you when you first enter. She's like, I'm a child. And then after some conversation, she's like, just kidding. I'm a scientist and I fucked up an experiment. By the way, do this blue fire thing. So if you light the blue fire before you walk into the thing, you walk in and she's like, oh, hey, how's it going? And she doesn't fuck with you because obviously you've played it before. and you know to light the thing.
So you as Link know your memories.
Yeah, it's just like, hi, I'm Purah. Yeah, and, you know,
That's
the whole
awesome.
kid thing, and yeah.
That's like not a lot of work on the development
Exactly,
side
but
for
it's-
so much payoff.
I know
that's
it's
really cool.
very smart.
No,
Yeah, when the game acknowledges you for knowing what you're doing,
Yeah.
it's always a good feeling.
that's always so cool. There's a similar thing in MGS 5, and I had this one happen to me organically, which made me really happy. But in Chapter 1, there's a mission where you just have to destroy a base's communication stuff. And
Yeah, I
that's,
remember
that's
that
all
one.
you have to do.
Yep.
And when I played it, the mission starts, and Kaz is like, you know, you have to destroy the whatever. And then Miller cuts him off like... No,
Or Ocelot.
Ocelot cuts him off like mid-sentence and says, wait a minute, it's already been destroyed.
Yeah.
And Kaz is like, what? Great job, boss. And then the mission ended, which is like so great. Like, that shit is so good.
I love that like Kaz and Ocelot are the angel and devil on your shoulder the entire game.
It's pretty cute.
Yeah.
Goes to the full fucking helicopter thing. He jumps out. And he's like, all right, but wait.
Well, no, that was like one of those things where I think we figured it out before they even told you to do it too. Because it was just like, oh, they're going to try and contact other people, shoot their communication center. And
Right.
we did that. And then I think the same exact thing happened.
Oh, shit, I don't remember.
Yeah. Because like I remember being impressed with that, being like, we thought of that on our own, and it actually was a mechanic that worked in the game. So,
Oh, there you go.
no, they...
Oh, there you go.
It's a smart game.
Yeah, it is a smart
really
game.
smart game.
It is, and I think that's why it should have won Game of the Year.
I think it did.
No, it didn't. I remember we were sitting at the Game Awards and feeling
That doesn't
robbed.
count. There's so many Game of
I
the
was gonna
Year
say,
awards.
whose game of the it could be
Yeah.
your game of the year, and that's just as valid as IGN's game. Of the year.
Yeah, exactly.
This is true.
It's not a thing.
I thought Bloodborne should have won, and be perfectly honest with you, but it's whatever. Because it was a finished game.
Oh,
Oh my
snap.
As much as, hey, if 5 was finished, I would have been like, hell yeah, Game of the Year.
Miyazaki and Kojima should team up
Yeah, that would be fucking.
for a
Yeah,
crazy.
for a
I
thing
feel
that
like they
they
would just
never
get into
put
fist
out.
fights together.
It's like
Jesus.
talk more, talk less.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh
each
yeah.
other.
If that's one thing that Kojima needs is a fucking editor.
God.
Such good ideas, but it's like, dude, just say what you mean.
Or show it. Or just show it.
yeah, exactly.
Those are some of the strongest moments of those games where you actually see something as you're playing it, like that's when it
But what about
unfolds.
like the super long, goofy, sitting in the back of the truck with skull face, and you're riding with him to base, and it's abnormally long. It's a
And then the
cutscene where
awkward
you're just
silence at
sitting.
the end?
Yeah, you're just sitting in a car with them waiting.
like the quarantine scene, that was one of the few parts of Phantom Pain where I was like, this is Metal Gear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
It
is
was
like the
just
ladder
awkward.
in MGS3. Like
It just felt awkward.
Yeah.
Like it
that's
wasn't
exactly,
like goofy awkward.
That's what I want.
Yeah, I don't mind that stuff so much because that's like sort of built that way.
Yeah.
I mean when it's like a cutscene and they're like, "Tell me about memes again." Like, oh, memes. Let me tell you about memes.
The cutscenes, they can be overly verbose.
Yeah.
But it's usually the codec and radio conversations.
Oh yeah.
And then Phantom Pain's version of that is just the cassette tapes where you're just drowning in cassette tapes.
I love
is
that.
like-
Wait, go ahead.
I like it, but it's just like, oh, these are way longer than they should be.
In Peace Walker and 5, though, it was so smart to make that stuff optional. Because,
Yeah.
like, that's something that MGS 4, he started doing it where... Well, I guess he started doing it in 2, but 4, I just remember fucking rolling my eyes so hard whenever it switched over to, like, infographics.
Yes. So four was perfect in my opinion because that whole
Really?
yeah. Well, with the codec stuff.
Oh, okay.
Because they used the codec. To me, that game was about like Snake getting older and being outdated, and he's the war never changes, but like it does, and that's the whole thing. And so he's like this old man, and all his friends are dead or they don't care. So like. Metal Gear Solid 1's like you got this ragtag group of like, oh, the code in Mei Ling and she flirts with you and yeah, with this guy, and you like want to call people, and there's all this shit. And so Metal Gear Solid 4, you can call your weird friend's estranged wife or this dude who's just in love with you, and that's it. And it's just, and they just ramble, and you're like, I
Can you call
don't
Colonel,
give a
or
shit.
do you just have random conversations with him?
I think sometimes he just, like, switches out for
just-
Rose in the middle of a
Yeah.
scene.
Yes, you're
Yeah.
right. Yep. I
Because
remember being really bummed by that. I was like, I want to talk to everybody.
Rose is worthless, and Otacon is just like over-explainy, and like he's just enamored with you, and it's
That
just
game
like
was just a bummer.
yeah, exactly. So I thought that was perfect because that seemed intentional, where he was like, I'm gonna subvert every, I'm gonna make the codec really fucking boring because
really
that's where Snake is at right now. He's this old man that nobody cares about anymore.
He's stuck in his ways. There's no new friends.
And meanwhile, that's why I thought it was so fucking brilliant. The part where Raiden and Snake are fighting at the same time.
the split screen.
Yeah. So you're doing this super duper fucking boring, like just rocketing one by one. Meanwhile,
you have the railgun, and there's just like one by one Rexes coming at you, and you're like,
Actually,
Yeah.
or
that
they're
is
geckos
really
or whatever.
smart.
and then on the flip side, you can't even fucking watch the world like happening outside of your.
Top
You're
10
just like,
best
oh,
anime
fuck it.
battles
Yeah.
on the other side
and
of
it's
the street.
so amazing and fucking, and he's just got like knives in his hands, and but you can't watch it because if you look over at all, you're dead.
Yeah, totally.
It's fucking brilliant.
I mean,
That's one of the best parts of that
it's
game.
great storytelling, but it's a great gameplay.
I mean, that's sort of the.
It's the point is that it's not good.
Yeah,
game.
exactly. Yeah, that's sort of the because it's art.
A
yeah.
lot
in
of
terms of
MGS4s.
In terms of what Kojima always wants to do, which is using mechanics to elevate narrative ideas, I think it
Yes.
is great
Yeah,
gameplay.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
not fun gameplay.
It
but
was
it's
the
brilliant.
only time that button mashing was compelling gameplay.
Oh, my
yeah.
god,
Yeah.
don't even
Yeah.
talk about it. Can we not
The
talk about
microwave.
it? I
Everyone
don't-
feels the same way about the microwave. It was fucking dramatic as hell, and like it felt like you weren't gonna make it.
Yeah.
and it was like really
And
painful.
it's like the button prompt is getting faster. You're like,
Yeah.
I can't push
Yeah.
it faster.
And you're seeing all these scenes of shit happening where like it's sort of flashbacky, but also like the world is ending, dude. You fuck.
mash that fucking triangle
Yeah.
button.
And then it goes
So
on
sad.
way longer than you can like physically handle
Which
it. And
is
you're just
so-
like,
how long?
oh fuck.
I want to look up how long it actually is because it feels like an eternity.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Even compared
So
to like
sad.
Ocelot torturing you in 1 and 2 or whatever, where you have to mash to hold
Yeah,
your breath
yeah.
or whatever. Like those are like little bursts where you have to hold
Mm-hmm.
it. This is like 30 seconds of like, don't you die on me?
I love that you keep getting to like a door that you hope will be the last.
No.
one. There's just more.
It's just
fucking
longer and
afterwards.
longer, and then you
Really
get the little
smart.
robot like doing circles around you. Like,
Yeah.
so good.
Wow, it's really good.
You know
Yeah.
what was really good in 5 that I don't think we give enough credit to? It was the cassette tapes that were music and the music that they picked for the
Yeah.
game. Because those are the things that really kept you going on those missions where like you're like, I don't want to do this again. And you could just put on like some fucking rad 80s hit and jam it out. I like that.
I think it was a really smart addition because it
was.
was open world.
Yeah.
Because the soundtrack, Harry Gregson Williams, I think, did all of them after 1. I don't think he did 1.
No, he didn't do one.
He did Twin Snakes, I believe.
No, he didn't do the in-game music. He did the themes.
He didn't do the like.
No, it was a Japanese guy.
I think he scored some of the cutscenes.
He did like the
Which I'm still sad that they lost the rights to.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
bullshit. If you hear the Russian song that they're like, that's what it is, it's like, that's a different song. It just has a similar kind of cadence to it.
Yeah. But like I think they
It's a
did
good
a really
theme.
good job with that. Working those songs into the game, I think.
I thought you were gonna say they did a good job replacing that theme with ja 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 ja. It's like that's not a theme. Yeah, no, because the music in Metal Gear has always been really, really good.
Yeah.
But it's always kind of paced to the environment you're in, and like if you're sneaking or if it's a caution alert or whatever it is, like it's very gamey. But
Yeah.
they're like, no, you're in open world, you're just driving along the countryside, so
Yeah.
let's give you some tunes.
Yeah. And that was a good addition.
And it felt really good to get a new cassette tape.
And
Like,
it's
yeah, now I
timely.
can jam out to Take On Me.
Yeah.
Sweet. So,
I don't know. I felt like it kind of tied an extra layer into the game that made you feel a little bit more immersed.
I like when collectibles have value to the player, even if
Yeah.
it's completely like just like I like this song. That feels good.
I ended up buying all of those songs, like actually from iTunes after.
There were a couple songs in there that I did not know.
I did not like 80s songs, any 80s music before Metal Gear Solid 5. Like, I'm dead serious.
I
Like, having
hated
them
80s
listening
music
to
as a
them got me
kid.
into them. Yeah.
When I was a kid, I was just like, well, 90s music just sounds like 80s music but better.
Yeah. That's
Now when I'm
kinda
older,
how
I'm like, oh, there's like a nostalgic charm to
there's a
how simple the
definite
synths
difference
are.
in 80s and 90s now. Yeah.
And now we have like retro wave stuff bringing all those sounds back.
So clearly, you guys liked the radio in Final Fantasy 15.
Dude, I love hitting a button to go through 100 tracks in the Final Fantasy X soundtrack. All needed was a menu to let you pick the song.
God.
No,
I love
it's good.
Snake.
Kazusne or Ocelot?
Both.
Wow.
Oh shit.
I
They
think
both have really good names.
to be polygamous.
Come on, Jory, you got to pick one. Kazusne or Ocelot?
Fuck. I think I would choose Solid and Otacon.
Aw, that's cute.
Sodicon?
Love is blooming on the
Solidicon?
battlefield.
Yeah.
Can love bloom on the battlefield? It's blooming right now.
What about you, Barry? Ocelot or Kazusne?
Kazusne.
Oh shit.
Yeah, Ocelot is just too much of a. What is he?
Kazusne is just fucking revenge boyfriends. That's all that is.
Ocelot is the definition of playing 5D chess.
Yes,
He's
Ocelot
always
is
triple
like
backstabbing everybody.
And he
Yeah.
spends like the last like 10 years of his life like disguised as another person and having self-hypnotized into believing he's really him.
Yep.
And
Never quite understood that plot. Especially with the cutscenes in 2 where he's like, no, the hand's taking over. And it's like, that was all him? The whole I mean, that makes more sense than the hand controlling his brain, but...
Oh my god.
Yeah,
I like Kaz.
believe me.
Kaz is
I have
so
a different
angsty.
accent now, brother.
And that was all. He wanted the world to think he was possessed by a ghost.
Well, didn't
arm
he need to, like...
as a mislead?
He needed to think like Liquid to somehow get Boss's remains or some I don't... But, like, that's why we love Metal Gear. It's like, you're just watching, you're like, I can't believe I'm watching this.
Every
Yeah.
villain is the most wacky character ever in Metal Gear.
Except for 4. The villains in 4 are just... The Beauty and the Beast unit. I remember...
They look cool.
Their designs are cool.
The bird one is fucking awesome.
Well, they're all just kind of like referencing other Metal Gear villains. They're kind of redundant in that
Well,
sense.
that's how all
Yeah.
What
Metal
was the
Gear
name of the
villains
thing
are.
from Peace Walker
Yeah.
that was like scary as hell?
The robot?
Yeah.
Oh,
It had
the-
like the
like,
crazy, creepy tune.
They were all like insect stages, right?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
It had, like,
the
It was so creepy.
yeah,
the
it goes
mammal
like la, la,
brain.
la, la, la,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah, that thing. It sings that like while it's like
butterflies.
killing you.
Yeah.
Well, and also it came with like a Vocaloid engine, so you could write your own songs.
What?
What, really?
Yeah, I think that unfortunately now it has been shut down because it was
What?
actually being processed by a remote server, and that server's been shut down.
Oh.
But you used to be able to encode your own songs
What
and
the
then
fuck?
make it so that the AI unit would play it. Peace Walker is a bonkers game. I love it so
Peace
much.
Walker's like one of my favorite Metal Gears.
Peace Walker's
It's,
great.
it's
It's
so
really
solid.
good.
I need
Yeah.
to give it another chance because I got an hour into it and gave up.
No, you
Because
should.
I was like, this is just bite-sized Metal Gear. I don't
It's
care.
more gamey than the other Metal Gears.
Yeah.
It was super gamey.
And
Yeah.
And they've always been kind of gamey.
For a couple hours, I hate the story, but then like when it starts to come together, it has some story beats that I really love.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
what you were talking about.
Because I was like,
earlier,
I
just,
don't
like,
care
when it
about
comes together.
Chico. I don't care about
The fucking
what he's
last boss
doing.
fight is what the fuck is it called? The pre-Metal Gear, the walking one.
Zeke?
Not the
Zeke,
Shagahod.
Metal Gear Zeke.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's a fucking awesome boss fight.
Oh yeah, it's great.
it's
It's
so
really
intense and like well designed.
Yeah.
and it's hard too.
Yeah, the last couple of fights against like Peace Walker itself, it just goes on for
Yeah.
a little too long. Like because it was.
Oh, the
designed-
Peace
it was-
Walker. That's what fucking obviously it's called.
Duh.
Jesus.
Like I think that one, it's like it's so clearly designed for co-op that like it's just harder than it should be. But like the fight when like Paz takes control of Zeke is like I think like a really good boss fight. It's
oh yeah, on the base.
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good one too.
it's
Fuck.
really good.
And it's got great music too. It's like got her Japanese K-pop theme song.
Yeah.
That's,
Well, and that's the game where you get to date Kaz on the beach, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
By no other metric, that's the best game
Yeah.
ever made.
Clearly.
Yes.
Susie
just-
would agree with that.
I
it's
would
just
agree.
solid. It's super. I mean,
It's solid.
It's way linear.
It's Metal Gear Solid.
You fucking asshole!
I
I'll
know.
kill you.
Okay.
I'll stab you in the
please,
face.
please do.
You messed up, Barry.
He is upset with that fucking like poetry it rhymes thing, isn't he? Like, Metal Gear Solid 1 was already a copy of the first two Metal Gears. And then Metal
then
Gear Solid 2 was like the plot was literally that it's a meme of Metal Gear Solid 1.
That's the game that taught me what a meme was.
Yeah.
And then the internet
God.
said, meme means this now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meme is when you put text on top of a picture.
That's an image macro, Jordan.
But then Metal Gear Solid 4, like even more, is like it's like, oh, it's a callback. So it's like still mimetic and it's
That's
yeah.
why 3's my favorite,
Yeah.
because it stands out.
Aw.
It does. You're right.
I
You're
like
right.
5.
And it has a lot of the goofiest moments in it. Like a guy who shoots bees out of his mouth that explode.
That was really weird.
There's so
huh?
much goofy. And then you have a
The
Western
ghost
duel over a gorge. with
river
Ocelot.
thing.
Yeah, the sorrow where you have to like fake kill yourself to
That
wake
was
up. and-
that was interesting.
yeah, and then when you lose your eye, part of the screen is black when you go into first person.
For the rest of the game.
For the rest, it's
a
like
great
there's so
idea.
many weird ideas in that
So
game.
I did not enjoy playing Metal Gear Solid 3. I enjoyed watching you play Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yeah. I think I if I tried to play it now, having never played it before, I'd be like, this is garbage.
I will actually say the Subsistence is a really fun game. The
'Cause
initial release is fucking
I never played
ridiculous.
Subsistence. I played Aaron's copy for a little bit. And I was like, oh my god, I can move the camera anywhere.
Yeah.
Instead of being like kind of locked to that top-down view, and it's like I got through it somehow.
It's rough.
as a youngin.
Same.
Because yeah, as I said, like I sort of secretly played the second one after it came out with my brother, but 3 I followed the development of. Like I remember when the Cobra unit was announced and they just had like silhouettes of them that they revealed and it was like, wow, those are the bosses. They're gonna be crazy because Metal Gear bosses. And they did the same thing for 4 where they're like the Beauty and the Beast unit. I was like, oh boy, this is gonna be so great. No, they weren't. even like the weird backstory like character stuff aside, they're just none of them are interesting boss fights.
Nah, they're not.
Even the bird one, I was
I disagree with that. The wolf one was good.
where you're fighting in the snow.
Yeah.
It just felt like a war of attrition. It wasn't.
I thought that was kind of interesting.
I thought the end did it way better. This idea of stalking each other in a massive arena, and there were like other AI
Well,
in the
Fortune
area.
is or not Fortune. Sniper Wolf is the same way, unless you have the Nikita.
Oh, this is the Nikita. Just kill her in one hit or something.
Yeah. Well, you didn't know that?
Do you just say you hide behind cover and go?
Yeah. No, exactly. It's a sniper battle, so you're like, oh fuck, I gotta be a better sniper. But then
Right.
if you have a Nikita, it's just like and
She
blow
can
her
like,
up.
she can like notice and destroy it.
Yes,
can't she?
yes. You
Yeah.
have to sneak up on her with
That's
it.
awesome.
Yeah.
The,
I love him too when you bring the Nikita into the room with the president and he like jumps out of the way. He's like, oh no.
No.
Because you have to like blow up like a circuit breaker in the room with him to turn off the laser grid to get to him.
Yeah.
And then that's when he like has a heart attack from Fox Die or not Fox Die. And yeah, if you like bring the rocket towards him, he's like really just like, oh no, and like kind of gets out of the way. It's really stupid.
Maybe that's only in Twin Snakes.
No, this is MGS 2.
Yeah.
The U.S. president,
The U.S.
not
president.
the DARPA president.
What about like the diss heard around the world when Snake refused to shake the president's hand?
Oh fuck!
Oh,
Don't get me started on 3's ending.
Yeah.
That's why I love 3. It's so good.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's fun to watch.
Yeah.
But when I was playing it, I was just like stuck for hours in like one location. And then like meanwhile I see you and you're like, oh, I know where this is. Check this out.
like
This is funny because of this. And I'm like, oh, cool.
It's like when I watch gifs of people playing Phantom Pain, they're using like they're using like a circle of decoy balloon snakes, and then they like slide down a hill in a box and they cause this chain reaction. I'm like, I am playing this game wrong.
Yeah.
But 3 is a game that I've played 1,000 times. I know every square corner of that game.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I know like there's a guy over here and I can do this over here.
We started playing that on Kitty Cat Gaming. We should pick that back up.
Fun.
What,
That was
3?
fun. Yeah, we played. You, Barry, and I played it on Kitty Cat Gaming for like
totally
11
forgot about
episodes,
that.
Oh,
and then
shit.
we dropped it. We should start it again.
I don't
People
remember.
want that. Let us know.
Yeah, I would love to do that again.
Anyway, I have nothing else. Well, I probably do.
I love Snake, and he is my spirit guide, and that's it.
So Venom Snake's your favorite. Who's your favorite, Jory?
In the snakes,
Of the snakes, including the clones.
probably Solid.
Solid.
He's a cutie.
Yeah, he is a cutie, and I'll give him that. And I was gonna say not just because he's the classic, and not just because he's a cutie, but also I think like the stuff in 4 of him, like
They're all cuties.
So you like Old Snake?
I like Old Snake a lot.
I like Old Snake. He reminds me of my dad.
He's cool.
Wow,
I remember.
Really
I remember when they put out the first trailer for MGS 4, and they were proving that it was running in real time at TGS. They like had a camera flying around. Everyone was like, "This is real time on PS4." Everyone was freaking out.
I remember that, yeah.
And it was insanely impressive. And the one factoid that I remember was that his mustache in 4 has as many polygons as an enemy soldier in 3.
That's so beautiful.
I'm like, oh my god, graphics will never be the same.
No.
War changes and graphic changes.
Yep.
Barry, who's your favorite snake?
I like Naked Snake. That's my snake.
Oh, yeah,
shit. I think it's
your
just
childhood snake.
I think it's just the game that everyone likes the best because
Yeah.
mine's Metal Gear Solid 1 Solid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
With all 3 polygons of face.
Yeah.
I love what, because again, I didn't really,
Behind D.
I didn't really grow up with it. I didn't really play it whenever I
He
watched
drinks
the
more
cutscenes.
cigarettes and drinks more milk and cigarettes when he does the voice for that.
No, that was before. That was pre-milk and cigarettes.
Wow.
That was just before.
Yeah.
Solid, he almost sounds like a normal human.
Yeah, he's just like, my name's Snake. How are you? Like that's his voice. But then in Peace
He sounds like
Walker,
young
he's-
strong bad.
yeah, and then by the time they get to Peace Walker, he's like, gosh, what are you doing? It's like, oh my god, dude, chill out.
There's so many like voice lines in Peace Walker where the written line is just an ellipsis. It's just 3 dots.
Oh yeah, and it's
then
just
Hayter's really good.
I think everybody should tweet at David Hayter and send him love.
Hashtag not my
Aw.
snake.
Yeah.
I think
hashtag my snake.
Well, I mean, like Kiefer was not my snake.
yeah.
Keith or Sutherland.
Oh shit.
I think that
man.
ship has sailed. I think we're all over it.
Yeah.
Speaking for
Funny,
everyone in the
Barry.
room.
I'm not over it.
It's okay. The games that came out are still there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
future generations will enjoy them. That's
Yeah.
what Metal Gear Solid 2 taught me.
Maybe.
That kids in the future will enjoy dank memes.
Oh shit.
MGS4 untaught you.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Memes are dumb.
No matter what actor plays Snake, all he will do is just repeat what the last person just said.
Right.
It's all about nanomachines. Nanomachines. Yeah.
True.
Memes. Yeah.
Sometimes he puts the word "huh" at the end of
Yeah.
it.
Memes, huh? Yeah, memes.
Memes, huh? Yeah. Memes. Memes, huh?
Liquid. Yeah, liquid. That's just his whole role in all the games.
Wow.
Is people just explain stuff and he's just like, radio silence.
I was so happy for David Hayter in MGS4 whenever like Liquid would make a dope getaway and Snake would get to scream his name like his
Liquid!
He gets fucked up in that game.
It's
God.
horrible.
I love Snake.
Well, he calls him Liquid, right? That's their dichotomy.
Yeah, Liquid
He's like-
Ocelot.
He calls him Liquid, but Liquid calls him Brother! Brother! He never calls him Solid, so...
It doesn't have the same ring to it.
Yeah.
It's liquid.
Oh my god. I adore all of it.
Do you think Solidus was going to be called Gaseous at the beginning?
I hope so.
I know I thought so when I was like 15 or
Plasma
whatever.
snake.
Yeah.
Higgs boson snake.
God.
Hadron Particle Collider Snake. All right.
I am photon snake.
Thanks for joining us on the Snake
This was
Metal
fun.
Gear.
Yeah.
Almost 2 hour.
I was gonna say, I think this went on for a bit longer
Yeah.
than usual.
If
And
you
we
made
didn't
it this
cover
far,
a
you
tiny
love it.
amount of the ground I thought.
Oh,
we would.
yeah.
I could seriously just talk about, remember this moment, remember that moment, but I think we covered the overarching themes.
Just a podcast, not a fucking...
We didn't really talk about it being
not a
anti-war.
dissection.
Yeah. It's like our relation to the games.
I could talk about this for 4 more hours.
Yeah, I love
So-
Metal Gear.
Because a big part of the games is the whole anti-war, anti-nukes theme.
Let's have a whole podcast about Metal Gear Acid 1 and 2.
I'd have to play
I feel
them.
great
I
about it.
loved Metal Gear Acid.
I
Really?
did too. I was
good.
I was a PSP early adopter.
it's a
and
fucking good game.
It's a great game.
It's just not Metal Gear.
It just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense sometimes.
No,
but
it does not.
It's really good.
A great game, but not Metal Gear. Sounds like my review.
It's
Phantom Pain.
fucking smart, dude. It's like a really smart, clever
card-based
game.
or
Yeah,
something?
well, it's like a board game almost.
Yeah, it really is.
Where you have to like strategize like what cards you have and like how far you can move and like how you can get in and out of a situation and so many moves.
Is there a way to capture a PSP?
Yes.
Oh,
Or
sure.
There's actually really perfect PSP emulators. There's one called
let's do
PPSSPP.
Oh.
SPP.
Real good.
Nice.
PPSSPP.
It's like dad's.
Oh my god, it really
DDA,
is.
DDS.
Wow.
Jory, where can people find you on the internet?
Hi, you can find me on Twitter at Jory Griffiths. It's JORYGRIFFIS. I tweet maybe 3 times a year. maybe it's more than
I'll
4.
hold you to that, Jory. I'll hold you to that.
Pressure's on now. I'm starting to sweat.
No more, no less. You better delete that 4th tweet.
I'm at Egoraptor and you're on my channel right now.
Yeah, and you can find me on Kitty Cat Gaming, and you can also find gameplay footage of Barry, Aaron, and I playing a couple different Metal Gears on there.
It's true.
Yeah.
And I am Barry. I'm at Razadoop on Twitter. And this has been the G Club.
The ultimate video game show.
The show for real gamers.
Sound effects.
See you all on Survive.
I'm gonna buy it, man.